What's up, internet peoples? As you can see, Mr. DJ Overflows is here with me, which is wonderful. It has been a hot minute since we've had a DJ up in here, so thank you for...
Am I like the first, or is it just like...
No, we've had a couple. I had Don Smooth, so he was like a...
Oh man, yeah.
He's like a pretty well-known one.
No, I know Don.
We had Bashment Booth up in here.
Okay.
I can't remember if we've had more. It's possible I had like one more DJ. Oh, we did. We had Bobby Payne. So I've had those three come through. I knew there was another one. But outside of that, no. I haven't had DJs, and I find the DJ interviews just so interesting because in like general, what you do is so drastically different than what I do. And your ear is just looking for such different things than my ear. So the wisdom that you bring to the table only helps people like me. With that, I would love... Oh, Deuce God's also a fucking DJ, technically, and I did interview him. Yeah. Because Ismail showed up, and he said that. Shout out Ismail.
Yeah, what's up? I'm watching the chat because I have another screen, so I'm seeing what's going on. So, yeah, Ishmael, what's up? He's been following me up a lot on Twitch, so I gotta give him props. To like
Ismail's like... Ismail's that fan people pretend doesn't exist.
You know what? He should keep that identity, like keep an eerie like mystery towards him. Like I've never met him, so I don't know, but I kind of like that aura of
we broke that veneer that we met him in real life. It was like this, like, wow, Ismail's in front of me. This is actually Ismail.
It's like a real person in front of me. Oh my god!
I know he's a real person, right? Like, you know he's a real person. But like for 4 years he was just in the chats, and then he became like an actual person. You know, like it was big. It was a big moment. It was like, say a word, man.
I'm counting down, like, Ismail, if you're watching, like I am counting down the days that I will meet you. I'll probably be by surprise too. You'll probably like come out of nowhere, and I'll just be like, "Who are you?" And it's like, "Oh, it's Ishmael." I'm like, "Holy cow!" So,
be a good day.
I'm waiting for that moment to come. So,
but with that, we do have the show. Welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stpehan Roy, and Bridge the Gap is effectively the show where we take interesting people such as yourself, and we walk through your life. And we extract knowledge nuggets for the masses and the people to gain some experience points from. And that's the show in a nutshell. And we do have a little bit of a sequenced opening, and then it just kind of goes wherever it goes. But to get us started right, can you let the people know where your life started, like where you were born?
I'm born and raised here in Montreal. I'm a Filipino dude. I was raised in the South Shore, Greenfield Park. What up? What up?
All right, cool.
I gotta do that. I gotta do that every so often, right?
That's enough, though. That's a good part. So you up in Greenfield Park, which the people know is technically off island in the South Shore. It's the greater Montreal area. And with that, we have the proper opening question, but it's like a context setter for this question. So this one's a bit of a story. One of the lines you can kind of take in whatever it goes, and it starts with my girlfriend. And she's washing the dishes, and she's got her phone playing, and it's that Black Eyed Peas song. I got a feeling, ooh. And she's vibing, she's dancing, and she's having like the time of her life washing the dishes. And I'm looking at her, and I go, when the fuck did this become chores music? Because I'm like, wait, what happened here, right? Like, cause you know this, you're a DJ, you know this song, and like 10 years ago, this was like that song that when you played, everybody would turn into a circle, everybody drunk, best time of the night. It was like, you probably heard it far too many times in your life, I could imagine. But for the rest of us, it was like that moment of the night, amazing times. And then 10 years later, it's some chores music. It's like this whole other vibe in our lives. It's like we evolved in such a way where the song, which didn't actually change at all, because songs don't really change, has such a different meaning in our lives that it's like kind of become more chores or exercise or the stuff like when we don't necessarily want to be doing it, but we want to go back to those days 10 years ago when we was in the clubs kind of doing our thing. And I asked a lot of people this. They tend to have a similar reaction. I'm curious to see a reaction on that song after, but this is just a preface to the real question. So with that though, to me, you have these songs as they go through the evolution of time, right? And then if you were to think about how songs go on journeys, we as music people also kind of go on journeys, right? And things change in our lives, and everything that evolves kind of impacts. So that got me thinking about all the interviews and all the stories that everyone I've ever heard of. And I noticed that most of the time, people start the story of their like musical life in their adolescent phase, usually when they discover hip hop, maybe when they start writing, when and it becomes a more active focus of their identity. But the truth about all this is that music is kind of always around us, right? Like the story of our musical identity really is from the moment we're born to the point where maybe there's even music playing in the hospital when you're born and you're absorbing that. So with that, it's like I thought about being like 4 or 5 years old, right? And I could think of those gray boxes, like the amp and the freaking tape deck and the radio. My dad had these wires connected going out the speakers and shit. He'd be playing his Led Zeppelins. He'd be busting that MC Mario 90s club music straight over the radios at night. And this is what he listened to.
Those were good times. God,
So
I was a kid too. Yeah, I remember those times.
And so my mom, she was more into like the discos, those $2 disco knockoff tapes you could find at Couche-Tard, and it would have all the remastered versions of shitty knockoff covers at disco bangers and like fucking musicals. That was her vibe and shit. Christmas time, we had this random tape. It was like EDM covers of Christmas songs, and that was the opening present soundtrack. And like, just I like to say, like, when you're real young, all these different things kind of create these vibes and circumstances in your life that I find ultimately tie into who you end up becoming later on. So Black Eyed Peas aside, which we can get to after, I would love it if you could take us back to the youngest DJ Overflow that you can remember in Greenfield Park and walk us through a little bit what it sounded like to be you before you had any control over the music in your life.
Dang, Black Eyed Peas, I swear to God. But no, I'm trying. Okay, so I have a family that is pretty enriched in music, to be honest. Like my brother is a singer, he plays in the band. My uncle, he's a drummer, he plays in the band, and everybody in my family loves music, right? My parents used to buy a lot of, like, ironically enough, disco music, so I have a strong affinitive love for anything disco related. So as a kid, though, I was just into just music in general. I could remember my first album I didn't buy it, but I did steal it off my bro, was because I'm a big U2 fan. So the first album I ever had in possession and would listen to it constantly would be the Joshua Tree album. But then having brothers who have different types of love for different music, like hip hop and my brother at the time, my second oldest brother Leon, he was big on alternative rock. So because he was into it, I was into it. So, and then my oldest brother Glenn, he was into like R&B, 90s. So whatever he was into it, I was into it. So it had that kind of eclectic feel of like what's good music. So I was pretty much into anything that was like I could hear. So, and also I was a sucker for anything that was on the radio. So, and I think you probably were like me too, where you you're cheap, so you don't want to buy the album, so you just buy cassette tape, blank tape, and just listen, just
It's not
record
even
whatever
about
music on the radio.
being cheap. It's more like
Yeah.
I lacked income as a young
Yeah.
one. And my parents, like my allowances as a kid were like, what, $2 a week kind of thing? Like it was like you could get
I
some
was
candy.
I was lucky to get $2 or anything, but whatever. My parents were, were ultimately, good to us, and like we weren't like super rich, but we were just kind of just, getting by
Yeah,
with life and stuff. So,
I'm with that.
but yeah, I used to love to just be in my room doing whatever. Of course, I was kind of like I did a lot of things when I was like a little kid and also in high school. I besides playing sports, I was just as lazy as well, like as being active. So a lot of times I would just either watch TV or I would deliberately listen to the radio and just listen to, like, at the time, Mix 96, and just listen
Yeah.
to you know what I mean, and just listen to whatever's good. I would just record whatever hit it was or whatever sounded good. So, and then I would just have to kind of like record just on the right time when the music starts,
How
or
old
in
were
the
you
big.
when you were doing that?
I think I was like, let's say 9, 10.
All
You
right,
know what I
so
mean?
like prior to that, let's just recap. You're growing up in a
Yeah.
household that's just full of music. So before
Yeah.
we get to the 9, 10, when you're like, let's say 5-ish, are you running around singing? Are you kind of doing dances and stuff? Or are you just more of a quiet
Man,
consumer of it?
I would think I was more of a quiet consumer of what was going on in general. I was active and I was kind of a playful kid, at least to my knowledge of for what they were telling me how I was when I was like 5 or 6. But I was ultimately quiet at the same time. I was kind of a quiet kid as well, a little bit of a shy kid as well. But yeah, but go with music, it was kind of a slow, kind of gradual thing because I think as any kid, you were just trying to just be interested in anything. I was interested in like toys. I was interested in sports. I was into like various things. But at most of the time with music, it was kind of like a slow kind of burn before I actually took it as something of a passion of mine. But as a 5, 6 year old kid, it was just, you hear what was big at the time, like anything like Boys to Men. Like I can remember listening to Boys to Men a lot. Like I think at the time when I was young, it's like End of the Road was like the big hit, and I would just soak that up because it was like a slow jam. It was like a love song, and I was already like 5, 6 years old, and I'm just like, wow, this is powerful stuff. So I have a definitive love for like R&B music because I was listening to it. But anything else that was coming out, I was just like of course like any kid, everybody loved Michael Jackson. So when what was it? I remember one time listening to like was it like Bad or no, Bad was like in the 80s, but like something that came out of the Dangerous album, like Dangerous or Black and White or whatever. I just remember listening to that a lot. But what kind of counteracted that a bit was because my brother was going through a grunge phase, and then the big thing was like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. I was kind of like listening to like that. So it I think before people were I like to admit that before people were just into like all kinds of music in general, I was kind of the first one that's just taking all music, you know, galore. Yeah, I love Nirvana and Pearl Jam, but I also have a love for Wu-Tang, and I grew up listening to um because my brother was also into like underground stuff like Tribe Called Quest and Gangstar, and it was just kind of a lot to take in as a kid. So you're looking at something that I was just kind of like slowly more and more just like
So
spending a lot of time on the radio, just like recording music or listening to music and figuring it out. So
So like, I guess what makes you migrate to a part where you're like, okay, now I got to start dubbing my own cassettes. I got to get more of this, because that's like
yeah,
different, right? That's the part where
yeah,
like it changes from this like thing that's around you, which is more of
yeah,
like most people had that experience where it's like this is around you, and then
yeah.
somewhere along the way something catches your ear, something specific, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yo, say word. What is
Mm-hmm.
this music thing? I know I heard it, but now it's different. I want more of it. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
what that song was that started to lead you down a path of dubbing tapes?
Man, uh, fuck. I'm trying to really dig deep to see what was the song or what was the album or what was something. The first album I remember buying, fuck, on cassette. Because before I know okay, this was like a little bit past that, but I remember my first ever CD that I ever bought was like the Tragically Hip Trouble at the Hen House. And that's kind of a little bit of an off turn because me listening to like hip hop and stuff, but I just remember that album was like big and I remember saving up money to just get that album. So as far as with like cassettes, I just remember pawning like just stealing a lot of my brother's cassettes and a lot of times he would have stuff like, like man, he had like mixtapes of like rock songs of like Aerosmith and and like Tripping Daisies or anything that was like popular alternative wise in like the beginning to early 90s. But I remember too that he had like I think the first hip hop album that I was introduced by him was man, I'm trying to think. It was I want to say that it was probably Eric B and Rakim. Because I remember I have that album on vinyl that was shared by my brother, but it wasn't like the album a particular. It was like a compilation album, like on vinyl. But I remember listening like You Got Soul, like constantly because that was like a mega hit, like a maxi mix where it was like 8 minutes long. But that was like kind of my closest thing to like early hip hop before reaching to like heights of like Wu-Tang and Cypress Hill and oh yeah, like Biggie, Tupac. So that was kind of my introduction to hip hop that I could remember. So
And then so basically you start dubbing cassettes because you want your own
yeah.
collection.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I was recording music off the radio, I was just taking anything. I remember just at one point I was like, it was like whatever popular Michael Jackson song was on the radio. To one point listening to whatever like New Kids on the Block. I'm not gonna lie. I was into like New Kids on the Block back in the day. So it's like anything that was just kind of like catchy, tuny that I could. Cause I at an early age, my brother actually bought me a like for those who don't know what a Walkman is, it's like basically a portable tape player, right? So it's like and I didn't really have anything in mind to like have other than whatever my brother had, but a lot of times it was just like whatever I was recording or whatever I had on. I still have my tapes to this day.
Oh, say
I
what?
should go.
You have your kid mixtapes.
Yeah, I should listen to them when I know
Yo,
they're
bro, you
stored
should make a
somewhere.
whole fucking stream series out of playing those tapes.
Yeah, I just gotta. But again, a lot of those songs in the beginning would have like an intro of the DJ or of the whoever would just say, "Oh, blah blah blah, blah mix 96." You listen to
Bro, that's
whatever,
a
blah 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 blah.
fucking time capsule. Do you know the nostalgia you'd hit people with?
Yeah, yeah, I know, but it's I don't know. I feel kind of no. It's not like I would be scared anyways. 'Cause I just love music in general, but just at the time, I just remember just being in my room and just kind of like listen to radio nonstop just so I could hear a good song. You know what I mean? And I think those were one of those times I kind of miss being a kid and not worrying about like adulthood. You know what I mean? Because it was just
Yeah.
one of those times where it's just you're a kid. Yeah, you just and I kind of you know because of this day and age, people won't like kids these days won't know what it's like to actually you know computer like be like live a life pre-computer or pre-internet, you know what I mean? Because it's just one of those things where you had to go out and buy records, you had to go out and buy CDs, you had to go out and buy cassettes, or for the most part just listen to the radio, and if you're willing to just record whatever music that you can get, you know what I mean? I remember listening to a lot of like 99.9 The Buzz and just
Yeah, that was my
yeah
shit.
yeah. So I remember a lot
Oh
of
fuck,
times
that's
it
high
was just
school right there.
yeah. So that's it. And the thing was like I don't know, like the reception wasn't great here, but it was enough to like listen to 99 on
Well,
the
say
Buzz, and
word.
I
It
just
was like, where were you at? In the South
I was
Shore?
still
Wasn't?
it was just yeah.
Yo,
Let's
it's
South
fucking
Shore
clean
Griffith
as
Park.
fucking NDG.
Really? Yeah, but for some reason off island, like I remember I would be like really like annoyed with people I knew living in the island that had like good reception of radio, or at the time they would have like much music where people living in the South Shore wouldn't have much music because of the reception or some bullshit like that. So a lot of times
What?
a lot of times I would listen to like Music Plus, and
Hold
which I
on.
didn't
So
mind. It's great.
let me run that one more time. I've never heard this
Go
in my
ahead,
life.
go ahead.
You couldn't necessarily get much music if you lived off island Montreal
Yeah,
on some weird shit,
yeah.
and so you were forced with Music Plus.
I think it was basically off of basic cable because I think if you have to pay extra, you can get it. But
Ah.
because I wasn't like I'm not like super rich on on that front, but even then, Music Plus was good. Like it's
Was
still
it?
the same thing. It was just in French. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of times they would promote like French content, like French music. I remember a lot of times discovering a lot of French hip hop, like Dubmatic, Mazayan, like all those kind of like early '90s French hip hop that was big at the time would be like nonstop playing at on Music Plus, and a lot of local hip hop acts too, like would make like content music videos would be aired on Music Plus. So I gotta give Music Plus their due on what they kind of also introduced me to like what music is currently
Yo.
and locally. So
So that's a huge one, eh? Because I never really watched
mm,
Music Plus, right? You say what it was. I was in a
yeah.
household where, let's say, French was a little more vilified than not, based on my
Hmm.
parents' feelings. So, like, yo, I'm like 16. I'm not gonna be fucking watching the French one, you know? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I had much music, much vibe, and much loud. Are you kidding me? What do I need Music Plus? I was spoiled.
Well, much Music Plus had their version of Much Vibe. I forgot what it was called, but I don't think it was as the same kind of like level that I remember Much Vibe. So,
Oh,
but
that shit
yeah,
was
this was
fuck
like
me.
yeah in the late like in the '90s where we weren't
Yeah.
able to get much. But I gotta give it to I because also besides recording like stuff on cassettes off the radio, I basically recorded a lot of music videos too. Like I still have a few of my cassettes of just nonstop music, like music videos that I record.
Bro,
So,
that
cause
would be
at the
so wild to sit through.
yeah, I should do that one time. Well, I gotta find or buy a new cassette player if they still exist. But
Yo, I fucking
uh,
swear, if you threw a party around that, I would come to your party
you
around
know,
watching your music
yeah.
videos.
But again, it's like it's not hard now with the internet and
No,
face
okay,
and
so here's the
YouTube.
thing.
But
I don't want to
yeah,
watch random music videos on YouTube.
yeah,
I could go do that. First of
yeah,
all, I would never think of any of them. So
yeah.
already, it's a terrible experiment for me. The other hand is what I want to know is what a young DJ Overflow thought was the littiest shit to record. See, that's
Oh
the part
man,
where it sounds dope because you're a DJ
yeah,
mans. So hearing the
yeah,
young DJ mans' curated mix of
yeah.
videos, oh my gosh, that sounds like a
But that was
blast.
this was again pre DJ one. This is just me being like into music,
You
right?
could
So
argue this was
yeah,
just your earliest mixes.
yeah. So and they were good. Like I just remember a lot of times if there was nothing on TV, I'm like, screw it, I'll just go watch through my music videos because, and again, it was just like and if I want to hear a tune, because I do have that tendency at the time, and even to this day, like if there's a tune in my head that I kind of like remember, and I don't remember the song or whatever, or if I just want to hear it, like I'll just find it and I'll listen to it, or I'll just try to rediscover whatever I haven't listened to in a long time. I think that's what I think going back to what you were saying in the beginning with Black Eyed Peas, with your girl listening to it, I think what triggers a lot of times with music is like memories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like she was there for like chores purposes, but it takes her back into a sense where, the song represented her in a way that it motivated her to like do whatever it's done, but it's a memory trigger.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times with now trying to kind of lead the way to what we're trying to say is like, yeah, a lot of times when listening to music and recording music or recording videos, it does kind of trigger type a lot of memories. So, and those are a lot of times where I would literally just be like at one point at any time I would just kind of be something would pop in my head and I'm like, oh man, I haven't heard that song in a while. And I would be like, oh man, that when I listen to that song, I remember X event or being with this person or whatever. So yeah, so I again with as yeah, I could say as a DJ, I just know a lot of songs, but just as a music lover too, I just know a lot of songs because
Mm.
they just trigger those type of emotions and memories, you
I'm
know.
just saying, man, anybody that would throw in, like, yo, if I could hear any of my creative professionals' 10-year-old mixes, I'd pay money
man.
to go to that event. I'm sorry, but that sounds amazing. Because you're going to get the corny, but you're also going to get the treasures. And that mix of
Yep.
corny and treasures, oh my gosh, that sounds like a blast. That sounds like a trip down memory lane for like a lot of people. And the young ones would fuck with it too, because it would be like wild for them. So I'm saying that sounds like a lit time.
I think that would kind of like I have a niece and nephew. I think it'd be a trip to kind of have them look at whatever I was recording or listen to what I was recording, just because, this was me
Bro,
at
it's like,
10 or
but
12. You know what I mean?
like it's like I'm trying to like, cause like I lived through that like radio, right? So those like guys, the voices, the talkovers, Mix 96's little cuts, it like that's all like a vibe. The tracks that
Yeah.
were around, like it's almost like they're not really here anymore. I mean, yeah, they are, but like nobody really remembers them. And so it's almost like this time capsule that you have created there. Anyway, that's all a side thing. That's fucking amazing that we learned that you're already basically from like 10 years old on
Yeah.
starting the journey of becoming a DJ, even if you didn't know what a DJ was back then.
No, I knew what a DJ was, but it wasn't like in my interest. But that wasn't really why I became a DJ. I became a DJ more like I'll push forward now to like I think my first exposure of like what a DJ to me was, because I remember my brother had cassette tapes of these DJs just doing these crazy stuff on turntables, like scratching, mixing, doing beat juggles on on 12 inches, playing it like it was an instrument. So I remember a lot of times my brother, I remember, had a hold of a cassette of like guys like DJ Cube. My first exposures were like DJ Cubert and the Executioners doing like routine stuff on turntables. And it was cool because I just never heard something like this before. And you could make like your own kind of like on the fly tunes using other people's tunes and manipulate sound like it was an instrument, and it was done all on using nothing but at the time 12-inch records. You know what I mean? You could take a track of let's say a Bismarck key track, take two, at the time they would do it using beat juggles with two exact same records and making its own beat just by using drum patterns that they would find like a break of it. And that was my first exposure of what a DJ was to me. So the instrumental kind of aspect of it was pretty kind of like eye-opening. And then I met people from my high school that were kind of doing it, scratching, like finding like tunes or like some sort of break to like do some cuts, and then yeah, that was kind of my exposure to it, like maybe mid to late high school years. So yeah, I gotta give praise to my best bud if he's watching, Chris, DJ Vertigo. I always praise him because he was the one that I kind of looked at him because he was doing it first. He was like, he's my age, and then he already had like turntables in the mixer, and he was already doing that stuff. I was just kind of like, wow, he could do that, so anybody can do that. So, and then the times went on. I saw more like videos of like different DJs, and then I discovered like different DJs locally and stuff. So the musicality of, well, like the technicality of a DJ was what I was introduced first before the musicality of a DJ, where you can just mix and make like party tracks or whatever and stuff like that. So that was kind of, so that journey kind of alluded a bit more once I kind of figured out that this was pretty cool. This is what I kind of love to do, and I was interested to kind of look at it more. So, but yeah,
No, it's super dope. So
yeah,
basically, you're like between like 10 years old, you start, we'll call it the old version of downloading
yeah,
and acquiring your collection of stuff, which still is curating, which I feel like ties into what you do. And is
yeah,
still clocking experience points for it,
yeah,
which I find really impressive that you're doing from a young age. And granted, you do
yeah,
have a lot of musical stuff happening in your family, which is dope.
yeah. But the thing is too, like besides doing, I eventually when I had a part-time half the school job and stuff, I started buying vinyls and CDs, and I I still have a lot of my collection of CDs and vinyls to this day, but and I'm trying to grow even more and more throughout the years. So, but for the most part, yeah, once I was able to buy like stuff like records, like I used to abuse my portable CD player in high school and just listen. And I would have a bag with a booklet of CDs. So, like, you know what I mean? So at the time, it wasn't like Spotify or Apple Music where you could just all have it on your phone. I had a big ass machine, like every kid in high school back in the 90s, early 2000s, and just wanted to hear like whatever was popular at the time or whatever was big. For some reason, I was just a big Limp Bizkit fan in high school, so it's just like anything Limp Bizkit, I gotta
Oh,
listen.
let
You
me
know
to
what
be
I
clear. It's not
mean?
for some reason. They were amazing. I don't care what anyone says. I stand by that. Chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water and $3 bill and the other one that significant other.
Significant Other, yeah,
These three albums are really solid. I do not
yeah,
stand for anything else that came past those points. I can't
no,
justify anything past that. But those three albums were pretty cool.
yeah, no. Significant Other was the pinnacle for me, and then I discovered $3 bills though, and I loved it just because of that gritty, like new wave of hip hop rock or hip hop alternative. And then Chocolate Starfish is just a guilty pleasure. You know what I mean? Like even to this day, sometimes I'll listen to it, and I'll just like, wow, this is me in high school. So, and I had like the khaki pants and the backwards red cap, and I lived the Fred Durst life for some reason. So it's like, but yeah, that was my exposure to what it was in high school. It was like hip hop, and then hip hop, like whatever new metal if you want to call it, then stuff like that. So but yeah, at the time when I had the money, I would buy all those CDs and buy all those albums because, just it's just something to have,
But it's also like part of like the vibe of the era. Like I remember being in high school, and we established I'm a couple years younger than you, so it's like the same that
Mm-hmm.
era, right? So like I
Mm-hmm.
can remember being in high school and getting like a $20, and one of the options for that $20 is Music World or HMV, and
Yeah.
you'd get like freaking excited, and you go like cop some album, like blind buy some shit or whatever.
Do you remember? I don't know if it was maybe before your time, but you went to Sam the Record Man
I
when we
did
had in?
not. I'm aware of what
Oh,
it is because I've been educated on the subject, but no,
yeah, yeah.
I never did.
We had one in back in the day at it was on St. Catherine Street. I don't remember where exactly, but I remember a lot of times if it's not HMV, I would go to Sam the Record Man, and I would like ditch classes to go to high school, go to like take a bus downtown and just hang around and just buy CDs or just hang around. So those were other times that I kind of remember a lot. Just
So you
I
like
had like
hung
you
out
had
in the
I had
record store like you would see people do in the movies kind of thing.
yeah, I did it like because it was like I don't do it as maybe often as like maybe a hardcore like music listener, but I remember a lot of times just to be
Hmm.
happy in life, I would go to a record shop and just hang
Shit.
around and look
I
through.
just remembered that like they used to have those listening stations where like
Yeah,
prior to the internet, this is one of the
yeah,
only ways you could peep a new album ahead of time, and they would have the shit with explicit lyrical content available in those too. So you'd
yep,
be
yep.
like, "Yo, I can go bump that music my mom said I couldn't play."
There you go. A lot of times too, I don't know if you remember, like they would have like album like CDs of just the singles, and they would be like $5 at a time. So I remember like if I let's say I had $20, I would cop like four or five of those, and just get the singles, and then there would be a B side to like those singles or like a remix. So I just remember buying a lot of those. And then I realized too, like, yeah, I could use those to like actually be a DJ, just buy myself like CDJs or something and then use those albums. So
Yeah,
like
I got really into compilations or greatest hits because I never knew what to buy. So if you got the
yeah,
greatest hits album off the jump, it was like a surefire
yeah,
way to get a taste for the band and if you liked them or not.
yeah. No, same like a lot of times I would go listen to a lot of greatest hits stuff from particular. I'm like Gangstar I love, but I didn't get any of the albums like Mass Appeal or like prior to getting their 90s greatest hits album, which was a double CD. And then I just loved it. And then I remember buying Mass Appeal, and that was like my eye opener type of album. And then I just discovered more and more. So no, greatest hits albums are like dope. You know what I mean? So at least that it kind of introduced you. If you're not familiar with the band, that if you're really, really into them, you could just discover a lot of their works. So, um, like God knows how many like greatest hits albums that I have of like particular artists. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, that's bringing me back for real. So basically, like later high school though, you start to get more engrossed in the concept of being a DJ because of the technicalities, and your boy is actually doing it. And
yeah, yeah. So what happened was like I think at the end of high school, like I had a lot of things that I was thinking about, but I had a goal where I at least wanted. I didn't have any equipment. Like I had maybe a used turntable, which I thought would be useful to like get to use to start as a DJ and then get myself a little mixer. But
so in theory,
uh,
any turntable will work.
no, you need a turntable that doesn't have like a automatic belt. You need something that has like a direct drive because of the stop and go. Meaning that a turntable would be something where a lot of times with turntables, if you get like a direct belt, you have a needle where you would drop it, and then when this either you have the needle to the end, or if you press the stop, it'll automatically move the needle back to the starting place. A lot of times with with turntables for DJs, you would need something that doesn't have that, where it's just a direct stop and go, and the needle will just stay where it is. So that's kind of where people have to kind of realize what kind of turntable they would want if they would want to be a DJ. And that was something I kind of learned kind of in the beginning because I just thought it was just any turntable, right? So I got like a cheap turntable and then whatever, but then it wasn't, because a lot of times when you try to do some scratching and cuts, the needle would move and it would jump and it would move back to the beginning setting point. So
Say
so
word.
yeah,
Okay.
so so keep that in mind. So if you're gonna buy a turntable, you gotta see what kind of turntable you want.
Well, if I'm gonna buy a turntable, I'm definitely gonna not get one with an automatic thing.
Yeah, well, here, give me a holler and I'll let you know.
No, I'm
But
not. I'm not. It's not an immediate purchase. But one day I would like to fuck around and try scratching literal vinyls.
yeah, well, it's good to like you're producing, right? And I know a lot of beat makers, they have turntables so they can
Mm.
grab like samples and breaks. So
I'm not really.
those
I don't make beats, but a lot of my friends
oh
do. I just like to
yeah,
use their beats.
okay.
But nah, for me it's just like really fascinating. Prior to talking to DJs, I don't know how anything worked. I didn't really get any of it. And then as you guys
Mm,
describe it, I'm like, say a word. So there's multiple kinds of turntables. Okay.
mm.
Pretend I
There's
know.
multiple kinds of turntables, multiple kinds of, because we have them. There's two turntables you would use, right? And then in the middle there's this like little box. It's a mixer basically. Basically, what the mixer does, it kind of controls like kind of the sound pitch and the volume, and kind of like you would manipulate it to have it sway from one side of the turntable to the other. And then that's kind of how DJs would start. So, um, but there's also various types of mixers for those who just want to mix, and then there's ones that don't, just want to scratch. There's ones that are like both. There's a lot of deep
So a
technicality on that too.
mixer, as
So,
I understand it, is the little console that takes all the various sounds and lets you manipulate them on the fly. That's what a
yep,
mixer's job is. I only
yep.
have any idea because we used a mixer for the first time last week, so I actually had to look at this motherfucker and think about how it worked as Chris was spinning knobs and shit trying to learn how to live engineer. Say
This
a
is my
word.
baby.
That's what Ismail was asking about now. Say a word. Look at that. Well, I guess
Yeah.
that's not the turntables. That's the
Well,
mixer.
no, but this is the mixer. Well, this is kind of an old, not older, but because there's like newer brands of this type of mod. But this is my baby, the
Fuck
Pioneer
me.
DJM S9. It's
Yeah, so the little buttons are like the little drum pad kind of thingies, or where you hold sounds.
yeah. Well, again, it's like you have cross-threaded gear. You put it on one side to hit to one turntable. You put it on the other side, hits to the other turntable. These ones here are kind of volume knobs, volume kind of settings for like how loud you want each turntable to be. So it's like a cutoff, right? And then I don't have to go through the technical terms here because this is gonna take another 5 hours to explain.
I fucking swear,
But
if you did do that one day, I would watch that stream and I'd be like, "Say word." That's what all the things do. Cause but for me, from my perception, it's a guy stands there, and I understand the flicking of the switches left and right. I get the volume control, and I just assume everything else is like live EQs and shit to make sure everything sounds like the right balance of shit.
Is a turntable.
That's fucking cool.
And to tell you how much of a crazy person I am, I have 7 turntables. Like, no, 7, 5. Sorry, 5 turntables. 4 of like kind of these. Oh no, I have 6. So it's like 4 of these plus 2 portables. So you know what I mean. So let's just say it's a lot of money to buy a lot of these equipment. So
that's fair, and I guess, but I mean, it creates a monetizable skill, as the guy's flyer says. Corporate events, birthday parties. Hit up DJ Overflow for virtually anything that you can think of that requires a DJ. He's there for you. He's got 2 portables. He just said so.
and plus, I need money. So
that's a great reason. But that's But I realized that like DJing is, because you can go clean, you can go wild, you can go in any direction as a DJ as long as you show up. I think what people don't.
I think what people don't understand is DJs who are good DJs are the ones that set the mood of whatever's going on around them, right? And I don't. There's DJs that are technical. There's DJs that can just only mix, and there's DJs that can do everything that a DJ can do. So, I think what people don't understand is like, however, I think to me a DJ is very important in terms of what to set the mood of what's going on. Like, let's say, for example, you're doing a hip hop show, and I've gone through it where it's like you have your MCs playing, and then you need somebody to fill those type of like those kind of holes between transitions from one MC to another MC, right? So you got your DJ there that'll play the tunes, set the mood. You got a lot of DJs that can open up shows to kind of hype whoever the main act's gonna be, or if you're gonna be going out for a good night, you have DJs that can rock party. You know what I mean? And then also just DJs there that are just musically inclined to be artists, where they would use, again, the turntables and the mixer as an instrument, and just kind of be their own artists, and just set the mood, like they're like there for a concert. You know what I mean? So I think, like, as much as MCs are cool, like, MCs are wild in terms of like providing lyrical content and tell a story and show presence. I think for the most part, the DJ is the one there that is like the DJ is the one to set the tone of what the night's gonna be. So
yeah, fucks with that. I mean? It's almost like the DJ is the drummer in the band that holds it down, and the guitarist sounds good if the drummer's tight.
That's it. Yeah, and I used to play the drums too, so it goes hand in hand. Where like the unsung hero would be the drummer, because he is the backbone of whatever band that's playing. He's the one to set the tone for the bass player to put his groove on, and for the guitarist. Yeah, it's true. It's like see enough.
I used to play bass, and while I didn't go very far with it, for a minute I was part of a little band, and I remember distinctly, like, I know the guitarist was like following me more than the drummer, but like I needed the drummer, because without him, what rhythm am I following, right? Like,
well, that's it. Basically the bassist and the drummer are kind of like, they're like together. You know what I mean? Because those two are the backbones of what a band initially can be, or what they can do as performers or as like as an act, right? So that's kind of the concept that I would put in as far as being a DJ. And you're right, yeah, the DJ would be in the back end, but is the essential importance of what is in front of them in terms of performing or setting off the night,
Yo,
or
but like for
you
real
know what I
though,
mean?
like as a performer, like I've had the pleasure of performing with some like DJs that know what the fuck they're doing. And if you trust your DJ, he's gonna do shit like fuck up your beat. And it's gonna be
Yeah,
perfect. He's gonna know somehow when you're gonna land shit. I don't know how
yeah,
y'all know this, but like you've never heard me do this song before, and somehow you still line it perfect, kind of thing. And it's
yeah.
amazing how like a DJ kind of takes what you would bring, and it almost like goes from like a studio experience into like this unique live experience that is only replicated that night because that DJ chose to feel that cut at that moment.
But again, it's all about, and I've done a lot of hip hop shows where I play with MCs, and some of them are, it's like if we have a good connection, or we know what we talked before about what they want to do and what we want to do, and if I feel it and he feels it, if he feels it, then it's great. But also too, I have messed with MCs where it's just a total drag, where it's just kind of like it doesn't feel creative. It was just kind of play A, play B, play C, whatever. So, and don't get me wrong, like I have mad love and respect for MCs, but if we don't, I'm at that point in my life where like if I don't feel the MC on a personal level, or if we don't know each other, like I've done enough shows where I would just be the background, like the background DJ, just pressing play, and it doesn't feel fun. You know what I mean? Because it just kind of kills the vibe of what I wanted to be as a DJ. It's not like with Gangstar where you got Guru and you got Premier, and he brings the flavor, he brings the beat, he does the cuts on a live event, and you got Guru who's on the mic spitting rhymes over what Premier is playing. Like that's a really tandem, like MC DJ kind of hip hop act that I think a lot of like hip hop artists or a lot of DJ collabs could like really follow through, because it is important for a good DJ and a good MC to kind of get together to put on a good performance, put out good music, put out good content. Because again, a lot of times, a lot of the MCs that I've seen throughout the years who would have a DJ, they're just background scenery, like, and to me that's kind of annoying, because it's just like you're not giving the DJ a chance to kind of showcase or do little cuts, or if you do cuts, it's just like minimal, like 8 bar cuts to whatever like outro you have on your beat. You know what I mean? So I really, with the respect of a lot of MCs that I work with, I don't try to go out and, you know, because I don't want to be that kind of background DJ. Because there's no point. Like I've never came to being a DJ and said to myself, yeah, I'm just gonna be a background DJ, playing a beat and just putting my hands in the air and just, mimic on the mic, like, be background vocals, like putting heart signs and just being like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not me, because I grew up as a DJ. I started learning to be a DJ on being a technical DJ before anything.
Yo,
So
like, say what?
yeah,
Let me ask you a question in a theoretical sense. So let's say I'm up
go
there
ahead.
rapping. You can do shit like flip up my beats and just
Yeah,
line shit up right where it needs to be for like the hook.
I can. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I have not done something where, but I'd love to try something where I can freak out the MC. And if you're a good enough MC, let's see what you can do on the fly. A best example that I could think of is, the latter part of the Beastie Boys. I remember when Mixmaster Mike would play tracks, and the Beastie Boys would lay down their lyrics on a particular track, and then he would throw a curveball on a beat with the same BPM, but it's a different track, but it's still the same rhymes over it.
Bro,
You know what I mean?
that's exactly what I was thinking of in my head. Because I'm
Yeah,
like, yo, what could I do to fuck up my live performance? I'm like, yo,
yeah,
imagine doing that shit. And then you could like lace in some fucking whatever. And then for
yeah.
me, as long as it lines up with the hook has to come back to like the proper
Well,
part.
that's it. I think that's what preparation and connect and
Woo.
communication between the MC and the
That's hot. That's
DJ
a
is very
fire
important.
idea. Fire
Yeah.
idea. Love it.
Yeah. But also too, like I'm saying, like if you're a good DJ, I mean, if you're a good MC, like a lot of MCs that I like can improv on the fly. So it's either they do a freestyle on something they fucked up over and make it seem like it's nothing, then those are the OG MCs. You know what I mean? So
I'm super good at being like blah blah and like catching it again.
yeah. So I don't know. I like being around kind of creative people, like people that are kind of outside the box. You know what I mean? Because I try to think outside the box a lot of times on things. Like I'm not saying that I'm a perfect DJ, but I do like to kind of do things on the fly. Sometimes if I play like a track that doesn't hit with people, then it is what it is, but I'll keep going, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where I like to experiment. I don't mind like if I give it a shot at a hip hop show, play like a Backstreet Boys track with a hip hop beat over it. We'll see how that works, you know what I mean? So
Come on, everybody knows that's a slap. Everybody knows that's a bop. I'm sorry. I want to hear the Backstreet Boys with hip hop beats under it. That's the truth of it.
yeah. You never know, man. That's why it's like with a lot of cool DJs, if you're kind of clever to put something I like to try to do it sometimes. Or I know DJs that can do it or DJs that are like clever where they'll just throw a curveball for no reason on playing something random and then still have people dancing on the floor or reacting to it or something. Like you play like let's say Biggie, Tupac, whatever, DMX, and all of a sudden you play like Milli Vanilli, and then you go back to like
Girl, you know it's true.
and the thing is that was my last song of the night because I usually try to play something quirky on my last song of wherever I'm DJing. So yeah, Girl You Know It's True is what's my last
Yo,
song.
but for me, like when I'm at the parties and shit, right? I find what happens is often DJs will catch a vibe, right? Now, if I love the vibe, oh my god, I'm vibing. But a lot of times I don't love the vibe, and then they play those curveball songs, and usually what happens is they're vibe changers. Whatever comes after that curveball song, that's gonna be a new vibe. So for me, those are some of the best parts because it means shit's about to change for me, and I love that part of a set.
Yeah, and I love that reaction. To be honest, like I don't want. Sometimes I just don't want to play the normal stuff. Because look at me, I love hip hop, but again, it gets repetitive when you're playing "Hypnotized" to whatever.
Hold on, I got shout out
Yeah,
Golden Jenny for renewing her subscription and keeping it gangster like that. That is 7 months in a row. Okay, like
nice.
that's a lot of love.
That is a lot of love.
Anyway, sorry, not to
No,
cut you
that's
off.
all good. But what was I saying? But yeah, it's just for hip hop tracks. It's like I can't. Like I love. I'll play the hypnotized to like whatever like ludicrous stand up to whatever, but then that everybody knows. But it just gets repetitive to me. So sometimes, if I could get a remix to it, or if I do a mashup of it, or if I just kind of curve the project the night to something else, or just play something random with a hip hop beat. Because DJs are clever that way too, if they read the crowd right. You know what I mean? So they do trend the night in a sense where whatever the DJ plays, that's kind of where the night's gonna go. So, and those are the nights that I kind of strive a lot. You know what I mean? It's just like but they also depends on the people too. Like not every person, especially youngins these days, are into something like that. They just want to hear whatever the hits or whatever is on TikTok these days. You know what I mean? So it's like, but yeah, it's just, but that's kind of like the old school mentality with kind of the new modern take on what's good these days in terms of music. So
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. All right,
yeah.
we got to go back to your story
Go ahead.
but don't get me wrong, I love this. You're crushing it. This is exactly what we want. You're like lubed up. You're ready to go. Everybody's interested.
I'm
Um,
drinking I'm drinking iced coffee too, so that helps.
that's fair. I'm drinking water, just water, because
I have water here. Just
yo, honestly, I couldn't handle the caffeine on the streams. I was like, when I started doing this, I was peeing too much, so I had to like cut off the caffeine at a certain point. Yo, shout out Ismail for eating grapes. I love that shit. That's one of my favorite parts of Twitch. Is just the chat and the whole dynamic it brings to the table. All right, Stills.
you like Twitch it's been kind of your it's you like I know you've been kind of crushing it like and like how many months have you been on this so far?
We started dabbling in October
Okay.
last year. I wouldn't say
Okay.
crushing. I'd say I just like it. I like it a
Okay.
lot. I feel like
Okay.
crushing is such a relative term, but like there's a
Mhm.
community here now in my life that didn't exist last year at this time, or it was in a lot more of its infancy stages last year at this time, and I'm super
Mhm.
grateful for that. And I would say Twitch has been a huge facilitator of the evolution in my life. But that's all after. We can get to Twitch because that's going to be the end of your story still, because that's where you're at now. So let's run it back to like you finish high school and you're like developing your DJ shit.
Mhm.
Your passion for becoming a DJ. You're studying the tapes. Your boys got the gear. You cop your first vinyl record, and then we got on an amazing tangent. So how does it kind of evolve for you to a point where like you actually develop your skills as a DJ, or like what happens next?
Well, right after high school, cause I was working. I could have gone to CJEP and stuff, but I just chose to kind of work. So eventually I saved up enough money like a couple of months after graduating to finally buy myself two turntables and the mixer that I want. I just remember being that moment of because I at the time I would put like money on layaway to get all this stuff, right? So once I finally gave my last payment to fully get everything, and I got home and then I set everything up. I think that was probably the happiest day of my life, just in a sense where I've worked so hard to actually get something that I wanted, that I was interested, and that I was passionate on doing. And I just remember from day one, just kind of learning how to do cuts and through friends and through watching videos and I just remember my friend gave me like his copy of a scratch record with different sounds. So I just learned how to do, different type of like patterns to, manipulate sound using a turntable and a mixer. And then I slowly just kind of evolved to getting like more vinyl records and stuff. But then the age of technology came in, and then I started, saving money to get a computer, and then so I can plug that into my DJ set, and then I don't have to worry about like getting like vinyls and stuff. So all the music would be in my laptop. So, but yeah, the journey kind of started when right after high school and while I was like working. I kind of did the like at the time I was just going to like different places, clubs, restaurants that are looking for DJs, and I ended up my first gig, weekly gig at 18 was at Peel Pub on what's that street on Peel Street. That was my first kind of like gig weekly, but at the time it wasn't like I brought gear. They had like a CD player, and I just had to come in with like CDs and stuff, and I would make like compilations or whatever. But it kind of was like it was my first gig, but it was kind of shitty. It was just like there wasn't like a window for me to see what was outside, so I was like locked into this closet, and then it was hard to see what kind of music I would need to play for like people. So I just whatever. So, but again, that was my first gig. I'm getting like $80 a night plus like free booze and stuff. So, but again, I took the gig just because I wanted experience. Like any other artist that wanted experience, you just want to take anything, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it just that kind of just started, and then I started had more confidence to getting more gigs with like turntables. So I would DJ like house parties, on like Halloween or something like that. And I did like I would do like gigs at like friends like at a friend's place or whatever if they're just doing a night out. So that was just kind of one of the things I started learning to become like a DJ at like places. And then and then once that was coming in, and then technology was starting to improve more, so I was getting music, and then I paid more money to get more equipment, to upgrade to get equipment. I was still practicing on cuts. So those were the things that I kind of took moving forward, and not going to school, and just kept working, working during the day and doing all that at night. So, and at the time I was like 20, early 20s, feeling invincible. I could do that during the day, and then at night, and stuff like that. So that was kind of a good beginning platform for me to kind of begin as a DJ and as an artist. And also too, I was trying to do like practice on like doing DJ competitions like the DMCs and stuff like that. So and yeah, it just to me, the more I was doing it, the more I was going out there, the more I was just taking any gigs at the time, the more I was just like happy, or just to just do what I love to do, which was DJing. So maybe I would have loved to do more things like leading up to it, but it was fun times in my 20s being a DJ, because I was just doing, and then I was doing more gigs, I was doing more clubs, and I was doing like meeting other DJs and stuff like that. So it just kind of morphed in something that was just important in my life and make me happy. So, and that was one of the things that came to me in the end, where it's like, yeah, I'm making money slowly, surely, more and more, but it's just one of those things that, I feel like it was um it was kind of like I felt alive every time I would DJ, because it was just, you're kind of like the focal point, of the night. You're kind of like, I'm not saying all DJing gigs were great. I did ones where it was just lame, like, but the more good ones are the ones that are the kind of like the best DJ gigs I could think of are the ones that are a little bit more underground, like in the sense where it's like hip hop shows, or doing like block parties, or doing DJing in somebody's basement, or just ones that are just that involve like MCs or artistries or something like that, because those are the ones that you kind of like shine as an artist versus DJing at a club or a resto, where it's just kind of like you play to cater everybody, and you play to cater everybody's moods and stuff like that. So um, but again, if as long as you have a love for music, it's gonna be there. So like, even though I hate reggaeton music, I'll play it just because I want to get the ladies going. You know what I mean? So
That's amazing.
but yeah, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey as a DJ, and and even now, like flash forward to 10 years later, I'm still going through a journey of what I love to do, which is DJing. So and it's the thing is like, if you're for anybody who loves their craft or loves their art, there's always something that you'll learn about your craft and art that you appreciate. And I always discover anything and everything new about DJing, or even music in general. So that to me is something that I cherish and that I hold dear to in terms of being a DJ.
Yeah, I appreciate that, stills. So
Yeah.
like, so basically throughout your 20s, you're basically doing a bunch of gigs. Is it all throughout Montreal? Are you traveling to other cities? Tell us a bit more about what it's like to be a DJ during that time, because a lot of
Uh,
us are never gonna know.
well, here, I was going through my Facebook, the memory thing of like, the day of what you did. So I realized that, I've done Under Pressure, which is a graffiti festival. I've done Under Pressure for a good like 13, 14 years. And I remember those were the gigs that I loved every year because you're a DJ, you get to shine, you get to do whatever you want to do. I used to just do like the beginning parts of the weekend and then whatever, and then progress to
How
doing
did you
more
like get linked
showcases.
up with them? Like, yo, that's big.
Well, the thing is, at the time, I just wrote an email or I reached out to whoever was in charge, which is Sterling Downey, who's the city councilor of Verdun, because he's the one that organized it with a few other people, but he's the main guy. But I remember maybe messaging him, and I believe Melissa was another big part of Under Pressure. So I think I messaged her too, and that's kind of that beginning part of like how I just because they with Under Pressure they take local artists if they want to do like if you're an MC, you can do a showcase there. If you're a DJ, you could throw down some beats. If you're a b-boy, there's DJ battles and stuff like that. If you're a graffiti artist, you get yourself a wall. You know what I mean? And do some graffiti stuff. And that was at the time a big thing for me because it was a festival, and it was a community festival that was towards artistry. And regardless of how good you are, regardless how much of a veteran you are, or a beginner, it's a tight community where it you get to just see people shine or do what they want to do, and also you get to meet people who love just that type of artistry. So it was a big deal to me at the time when I did my first year, and then every year I've done it since, just because it's more towards being a part of a community than anything. So I that's why I always try to hold dear. Like there are years that are just it was kind of like and then there was years that were the really good years in terms of like what I could do as a DJ. But at the end of the day, it's all about just being hanging around with people that are just in the same vein or into the same like vein of like what a community festival is, which is just for the people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and yeah, it was a big deal at the time. It still kind of is a big deal because I just like to meet up with like people. I've done like now going back, I did mention that I like DJ battles. So I did DMC battles, which is basically kind of like a DJ battle for turntables to do like a 6 minute routine and try to impress people. uh, I've only come in I've done it 4 times throughout the years. I've always came in fourth every year, so it's always a bit of a bummer to like not even crack the top three every year, which is like BS. But it is what it is. But I do want to maybe do DJ competitions in the future again, but because I'm becoming an old hag, it's like it's like it takes a toll on my body type of thing. But no, it's just the highlights too. Like I've done, like I was saying, I was doing like hip hop shows. I remember opening up for Slum Village a couple of years ago. That was a big deal for me. I remember opening up for Method Man with alongside Les, who is a local MC back in the day in Montreal. Man, what other hip hop shows? I've opened up for uh Black Milk was another big one for me. And man, I know I'm gonna blank out and I'm gonna remember more and more for sure after this interview, but those are the ones that kind of stand out. I know a couple of years ago too, I did open up for a Daft Punk cover band, so that was interesting. That was fun. That was good. That was like two guys that are just dressed up and just playing like Daft Punk tracks, and I was just kind of in the beginning
So
just
you're like an
playing.
actual DJ, and they're like
Yeah,
guys who are mimicking their like actions while playing Daft Punk tunes.
but it was good. They're cool guys. I forget their real names, again, it was like remixes of Daft Punk's tracks, which is fine. But I was digging it because I for sure was never gonna see Daft Punk in real life, and Lord, I'll never see them again since they've split up. But it was a good time. Like I've done a lot of I've joined a lot of bands too and played. as a DJ. Like I know with my brother, he has a lot of bands. I know I used to join them on stage and do cuts in between breaks and stuff like that. So those were those was interesting. So I love to play with bands. I should mention too, if any of like shout out to to the Urban Science crew. A couple of years ago, because every Thursday at the time, Urban Science would hold a Cypher. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
the Urban Science crew. And a lot of times per month, like I started maybe 3, 4 years ago doing like nights with them being their DJs. So I would play in between tracks, but also too, it's cool to kind of jam with them to play with tracks that they give me kind of like a 8 to 16 bar to do cuts over. You know what I mean? So those jamming with like Urban Science is probably a great highlight for me as well because like the artist, like the band itself is kind of like there's different bands that rotate throughout the week, but they're all like supreme like musicians in their own rights, you know. And then you got MCs that come in and they do their freestyles and stuff like that, and then you got singers too that sing. It's just I think what I like a lot about a lot of, like I was saying, underground events and stuff is it's just kind of like an open field for a lot of artists to shine, um, and just and give like a lot of like freedom to like have because I've always liked doing improv, so it's just like to jam with like different artists and stuff. It's cool, and different musicians and different MCs. It's just it's pretty sick to kind of be out of your comfort zone as a DJ and just jam, you know.
Yeah, I like this whole
So
like aspect of DJ as an artistry. So like what's been interesting talking to DJs is just how like versatile the term actually is. So you have Don Smooth, who's like radio DJ guy. And yeah, he does do events and stuff, but there's also that whole radio element to what he brings to a table, right? Then you have this guy DJ Bobby Payne, where really what he wants to be is the guy that pauses the track and says shit. Like that's it. No, but I mean, like basically, he broke it. I mean, I'm simplifying it, and it's not even boring when you watch DJ Bobby Payne and he just pauses, goes, "Okay, whatever," in my laid back Bobby Payne voice, and then he just like fucking lets it go. It's like amazing shit. I can't describe why I like it, but he does it very well. Like he was part of DJ crews, and that was his job almost to be like the hype man of the situation.
yeah.
And then like you talk to somebody more like a Bashment Booth, and he's all about like curating the perfect experience, right? And then we talk to you now, and it's like this concept of artistry where like now all of a sudden it's about the technical aspects, the scratching. It's almost like the concept is like DJ Overflow creating like the instrumentalist of a DJ, rather than just DJ Overflow, the curator of a good experience, which he also is. So book him.
Yes, thanks for the plug. But no, it's just again like great DJs are all around DJs that are real DJs, in the sense that you know what you're getting booked for, right? So there are times where you have to be the curator at a, let's say, at a launch, at a whatever, a museum gathering, and you curate like lounge music, you know, just to kind of appease people while they're watching art or looking at art on a wall. Or there could be other events where you're DJing a wedding, and you know you're playing the hits, and you're being you're being hyped. You know, you're trying to get the people going to celebrate a husband and groom getting hitched. You know what I mean? You're playing at a like a I'm trying to find the weirdest gig that I've ever done, but it all depends on what you're getting paid to do. But again, it's like as much as those gigs are right because I'm getting paid for it, like there are gigs too that you want to shine as like an artist and just be like the curator plus add some technical aspect to it, as well as being clever. And if you, there's a lot of DJs too that like to talk on the mic and be hyped, they can do all that too. There are DJs that can be very versatile all around, or there are DJs that can be one, two, three dimensional, which is fine too. It's all about just getting the people going. You know what I mean? So I think that's what people. That's what I tell people, like DJs or people who want to be DJs. It's like, okay, cool. You want to be a DJ? What kind of DJ do you want to be? Do you want to be a like a club DJ? Do you want to be a hype DJ? Are you a producer and you just want to play your tracks? You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of great producers who become DJs. I guess case in point with Kate Trinata would be the best example that I can think of from the top of my head. Like there's Tommy Cruise. There's man, I'm blanking on a lot of good homegrown Montreal producers who are have
even
become
like
DJs.
Deuce God technically took a
There you
path
go.
like that.
Yeah, so there you go. So it does just like, and the thing is too, as I tell, is like anybody can be a DJ. It's not like I don't think it's rocket science on how to be a DJ. It's just how you want to proceed as a DJ and for what reason. Like I've seen enough people that just want to be a DJ just because they want to whatever, they want to get rich, get laid. The rock and roll lifestyle, right? You know what I mean? But there are DJs too that just take approach of it as an artist who do technical stuff, and and that's cool too, you know what I mean? So I think the versatile of I think what the DJ is, and people should know, is that there are a wide range of DJs that could do almost anything and everything, or just be limited and still be good, you know what I mean? I've seen enough house DJs that are really good that I love, and they just do minimum, but they just make, like, they get the night going and they play great house music, you know what I mean? So and that was one of the other aspects of why I love being a DJ, because I could be one thing at one time, I could be another thing at another time, but at the end of the day it's like I just what I try to do is I just add my ever whatever flavor that I could put in to kind of be me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's super
Yeah.
nifty too. It's like effectively your career ends up getting split into two sides of it. The part where you pay the bills, where you do what's asked of you and you're like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna ask questions. Like if you at like a 7-year-old birthday party spinning, maybe it's not the right time for Tupac. Or maybe it is.
I have enough clean edits for Tupac, like for
Okay,
Tupac
okay.
tracks,
You know what I meant.
but
Like,
I get to say, yeah.
yeah, that's fair enough, eh? Because you could probably
So,
drop the
but I
clean
also want,
Tupac.
but I also, yeah, I want to educate these kids. So what, the, like, what the school of hard knocks is compared to whatever hip hop that's coming out these days. It's like, you know what I mean. But again, it's to each his own, But
So I guess
I
as a
don't.
DJ though, okay, because what's super interesting to me too is as a DJ, ultimately you're kind of required to follow the trends, because that's gonna keep you employed. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, there's shit people is gonna be expecting you to play, so you kind of have to listen to whatever Billboard is gonna be pushing, because that's like a reflection of, I guess, what people are expecting. We'll call it, right? Whereas
Mhm,
myself, I'm like deep into underground, so I'm finding golden music all over, right?
mhm.
And there is like these two realms that are happening now. Um, do you ever like get the opportunity to play in situations where you're able to pull from the underground, or do you get to play Montreal music?
I try to find places that I can. I have a lot of Montreal content music. I have a lot of MCs that are friends of mine that that would send me tracks and stuff. The best ones are probably, again, like a lot of the underground events, like maybe like at Le Cypher with the Urban Science Crew if I'm an opener, or if I'm opening for a hip hop act at a local show, or if it's at a like really kind of like unknown bar that has no kind of like, with the crowd just being kind of open or whatever, maybe I'll slip in some one or two like local hip hop stuff or Canadian hip hop stuff or whatever, like deep underground, to see if anybody would react, or maybe have that one or or two people that be like, "Oh my God, you're playing Mazayan, that's dope." You know what I mean? So it's like it kind of varies. I have that in my arsenal of terms of like my musical library, but it has to be kind of like deep for me to play those things depending on where I'm DJing. So
Cause yeah, I started as I talked to a lot of people, right? One of the things as a rapper, I go is how the hell do I get a DJ to play my shit, right? Like that's a big question. Now I'm like, wait a second, I have to actually think about this in a couple of months. I got some shit DJs might want to play. So it's like, what do you do then to get like in general? How do we get this point where DJs feel more inclined to play local music, and how do we even create a point where venues want that to happen too? Like the people hiring you, how do we like, I guess, create that synergist relationship between all of us? In your opinion?
oh man, well, the let's say you're dealing with a promoter or a bar owner, venue owner. I would stay away from like big time venues. I would try to go like really deep underground venues or bars with stages. I think maybe the best example I could think of is like Turbo Haas on Saint Denis, because he got bands that play there, and I have a friend of mine who's doing like Wednesday nights there with his group, hip hop act. Uh, Shout out to Grown MTL. So you gotta have to find something that's really deep. You gotta talk to the owner, promoter to kind of pitch your idea if they're down with it, and then you gotta talk logistics and money stuff to see if that's always an issue. And then once that's covered, then let's say you talk to your DJ. Like, to be honest, you could get any DJ you want in a sense, well, depending on what you want to do in terms of your act. If you just want a DJ to just play tracks and then whatever and put a smiley face while he's pressing play, cool. I've seen enough DJs that would just do that, have the little controller and stuff like that. Um, but again, that's just for me personally. That's just not me. Like I rather, if I was gonna open up for an MC, I obviously we have to have a good connection, a good, not connection, but good communication, and see what they want to do, or if they want to do flip stuff, or be creative on whatever. That's kind of where the MC and the DJ have to figure out something. But I think locally there are a lot of places here in Montreal. Well, I'm only saying that pre-pandemic. I don't know how it is now, depending
Right.
on how we going move forward. But there's so many places that you can do, or just like you can always just rent like a little area and that has a stage and just throw something underground and stuff like that. So like you can go old school route and just like do like get a abandoned warehouse and whatever or just something. But that all just depends on what you want to do or what you want to get or what you want to organize. You know what I mean? But I
Personally,
think yeah,
I want people to care. I don't.
yeah,
For me, it's less about like what I want, right? Because
yeah,
I think a lot of people have wanted a lot of things, and in my opinion, the scene, at least in the Anglo Montreal hip hop side, is not in the healthiest place in the city. We could do a little
yeah,
bit better. So it's like
yeah.
in my head, it's like you're a DJ, man. You know a lot about parties. You know a lot about vibes and stuff. So it's like, what do you do to like evolve the situation?
Man, I think for DJs, like my goal would be to like throw my own type of underground party and get myself another DJ so we could do a back to back and just play tracks all night and get the people going and just play whatever suits the crowd. I maybe would invite but this is just me though, but I would definitely cuz I love the best ones that I like in terms of like hip hop shows are shows that you could like for like if you invite like let's say b-boys to come in and just groove throughout the night and just play old school hip hop tracks, jams and poppers and stuff and get that going. Something like along the lines of like an Under Pressure but just more underground. But again, that's just something where I don't know if this day and age how many people here in Montreal would be into like going to that. And again, this is me speaking pre-pandemic.
Mm.
Like it's a
I
little bit
would
tougher
I would
now.
argue there's a high okay. So I think the scene is like this. Whatever you
Okay.
think of, there are definitely enough people that want to do it. The problem
Yeah.
is how do we find the people that want to do it and get them to show up? And the downside to that, in my experience, is like if you take a Cypher, they're at what volume like fucking 400 and change or some shit like that. Like they've done it forever and ever. I don't know actually how
Yeah.
high it is. It took them like years and years and years to establish
Yeah.
their reputation. Like usually it's
Yeah.
just that the first like 10 of them aren't lit, so
Yeah.
people don't
Well,
really like run it.
that's always in terms of events or projects. That's always a given where unless you're a big time celebrity or you're big on YouTube, Facebook or whatever or on Instagram. I mean on not Instagram. Well yeah, Instagram, but even nowadays like TikTok, unless you have like a name, you won't get you'll get people to support you, maybe your friends and family or whatever. But yeah, it is a slow build before you become synonymously well known in terms of whatever events. So I think it's just the willingness to find people that are at least willing to give it a shot for at least a few times before anything. So, and it's tough because I've seen enough people do projects or do events whereby a couple of weeks later or two or a few months later they kind of stop because either it's costing them money or lack of interest. So it's just one of those things where if you're really committed to do it, you just gotta have to beat the hurdle to try to, and that's kind of I guess with urban science, yeah, they've done it for X amount of years and but yeah, from the stores that I know, because they started in a small ass kind of venue at Blurry, or even before that, and then Blurry was just kind of like a small, and then they progressed to getting bigger venues, and then because a lot of people were starting to show up, and they figured out that Thursday nights was their best nights to have it, and they changed concepts pretty much so to what they like now. So it's just with any artist, it's like if you're gonna commit to it, at least give it a shot to try to just get the things going. Like for us DJs, it's like if we get nights to do whatever, like I know I've been booked on like for certain nights at a place and it would be dead because they just opened up or it's just a new event and stuff and hardly anybody would come and then it would just have to like you would have to slowly build to it. So it's a tough task, especially for a lot of local artists that want to do and commit to something like that.
Yeah, I guess that's the harsh reality of it, right? Like nothing
Yeah.
is easy in this,
Yeah.
and like oftentimes it's not going to be like your first ones, or oftentimes I find what happens is actually your first one goes really well, and then it dips for the next like 7.
Well, the thing is, if you're whatever you start, most likely it's doing well because you have friends that are there to support, back you up, help out, whatever. But like I'm gonna be real with you. Like I have family, I have family and friends that are supportive of what I do, but in the reality of things, like they're only supporting you morally, but I can't ask like I can't, especially with a lot of my friends and family that grow up, have families. They're not gonna come out every Thursday or Friday or whatever next to them DJing because they got lives or they got families or they're in a relationship or they're in a stable or they're just outgrown the party lifestyle or nightlife. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of something to think about too, at least from my perspective, being a DJ because because as much as I promote myself on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever that I'm DJing here on Friday nights, I'm DJing here on Saturdays, I don't expect anybody that I know to come unless it's under a special occasion. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of the reality I accepted a long time ago. Like I still want to pursue a life as a DJ and still want to be where I want to be in terms of, but I have to project more on strangers and people that dig whatever I'm doing as a DJ to come by and help me versus having friends and families who are there. ultimately just to see that I'm doing great. Whenever I post something on Facebook, get those likes and those hearts and stuff like that.
I mean,
But the reality is, it's like you're doing this because you're like artists are doing all this because of the love of what they love to do, regardless of like how many people there are like there to support you physically. You know what I mean?
yeah, but on top of that, like friends and family, like they're not really like I mean to like flip it how I've started to look at it is like yo, I'm a rapper, which provides a service slash commodity into the world. It's like a business thing at the end of the day
Yeah.
now. As much as it
Yeah.
might be art, as much as I might love doing it, I'm creating
Mm-hmm.
products that I'm trying to flip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're making a business, 99% of the people that are going to consume your product are probably not your friends and family if you're successful. You know, like,
That's it.
so it's like
That's why I'm
relying
trying to
on,
make the big bucks.
but it's like relying on them too. Like I find like a lot of us, and I mean just what I've witnessed personally done in the past kind of thing. Like we put such a burden on the people we know. Like I barely talk about what I do. I mean I post about it like nonstop, but like I don't actually try to promote a lot of what I do because they do all this shit, and it's like yo, I'll promote the fuck out of myself to a stranger and I meet in the street, right? Like that's a completely different
Yeah,
vibe.
because that's the best way to do it.
But like yo, like if you're just like you probably know what I do if I know you, and if you're already down, you're here, and yo, people tell me shit like yo, I like to lurk on your shit, and I'm like, say a word, that's so flattering and whatnot, you know. And those moments are really cool for me.
I don't get enough of that. Like if there are friends that are watching right now, I need you to kind of lurk and just like message me saying, "Oh, you look good in that t-shirt today." So it's like, you know what I mean? I need a lot of those just to kind of boost my kind of like self-esteem.
I mean, I watched you Under Pressure, and it was wonderful.
I That was a good time though. I know, and I was just playing with my new controller that was there, but I didn't want to play hip hop music because I know everybody else was gonna do it. So I just played anything random that popped in my head. So I ended up playing break beats of remixes of tracks. Like this is like my third time playing a Madonna song at Under Pressure. So it's like,
But like
but
it
hopefully
creates, but it's almost like I don't know if like there's a requirement that you have to play hip hop songs.
no,
If anything, it's a graffiti festival.
yeah.
You know, like
But that's the thing. It's like with a lot of DJs that I know, and I love, all the DJs that were there, like Easy LD, Killajoule, Manzo, and all those guys, quite sane. But you kind of know most of the time with a lot of those DJs what their sets are going to be in terms of, hip hop kind of like hip hop must plays, even underground stuff like your Smith and Wesson and whatever, like playing, a lot of Dr. Dre or whoever. Like I know, yeah, Easy LD, he's my homie. And I know he played like a kind of a little Beastie Boys medley, which kind of like I loved it, but it kind of pissed me off because I was just like, oh man, I want to play this track and I want to play this track.
you were like right
So
after him, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I was, and I was just like, dude. But I ended up playing maybe one Beastie Boys track of a remix, but which is fine. But I think what's great with DJs, if playing one after the other, is for me, I kind of like to if I know a DJ and their style, I'll try to kind of maybe come up with something different, just because I don't want people to think that I'm just a carbon copy of any other DJ. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong, I love to play a lot of those jams. I That's on my like Spotify playlist galore, my hip hop collection, my vinyl collection. But it's just if I could play something different to stand out, awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like I like the passion that you have towards creating your own individual style. And I noticed as I was watching your mix, I mean, I've watched you DJ a few times, but like half the time I've watched you DJ, I'm like raiding into your shit post stream. So I'm like, I can tell
I
you
need
one
more
thing.
of this.
That is the worst time to ever pay attention. Like, yo, I promise. Like, if I've rated you,
Yeah.
I'm not really there. Unless you're talking to me directly. Sometimes people catch my attention, but usually I'm like, bathroom break, this thing, okay, what we eating, like, you know, we got the and then I'm like, oh hey, you guys are awesome.
As long as you're playing me like in the background, doing
Well, I mean,
whatever.
I don't. You don't raid in and then turn it off. You raid in and
Yeah.
drop the volume to like 4% as you go do the next.
That's
But
the thing with That's the thing with raiding. It's like because I don't mind raid trains and stuff like that. It's fine, but let's be real. And I'm probably gonna shoot myself in the foot by saying this. If
nah,
a
you
lot of
won't.
but it's just like with if I'm part of a raid train and whatever, I'll listen to your set for a good 3 minutes, and then I'll just kind of like get out, or just get
Bro,
out.
but
Or
that's what I'm saying.
my friend,
Like, you just finished your set. Like, it's kind of like when you finish rapping at the show, and as much as you hate to be that asshole, and I have to rethink my tactics in the future, is why I'm saying it like this. Yo, the first thing I do, I don't even care if an Expanse is on stage as my homeboy. First thing I'm doing is shooting outside to light one up, right? Like, I just finished my shit, which, again, I really need to rethink that habit as the live community comes back in, because it's probably not the right choice, but, like, at the same time, it's like, yo, like, especially if I've done, like, currently I've been streaming 2 hours and 34 minutes. I promise whoever the fuck I raid into, the next 10 minutes of my life after, the last thing I really want to do is sit in front of my fucking computer and, like, because, yo, I mean, I love this part of it, but, like, the 10 minutes after, you're like, the last thing you really want to do is be sitting right in front of your computer doing exactly what you was just doing.
That's it. So, like, I know, I know after this, I'm probably gonna go get something to eat. Maybe you skim through whatever's on Facebook or on Twitch, and then because I have to work on doing a mixtape, so I'll probably have to go through my library of music. But yeah, no, I feel you because it's just like, after you're streaming or whatever you're set, you just kind of want to chill. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, but again, it depends on who. Let's say for like DJ sets, like if I know who's right next, and I like their whatever music, or if I like their DJ, if I know this DJ and I respect them and whatever, and want to hear his stuff, yeah, I'll stick around for a bit. You know what I mean? And that's what I tend to do often, just to kind of hang out. But no, I feel you too, where it's like
I'll like come
even
back in 15 minutes and check in then usually.
yeah, it's like let me just get a slice of pizza first, and then I'll be back to watch the second half of the set. Or even a lot of times, if I don't know the DJ or I care less about whatever artist or DJ, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'll pack up my stuff and I'll just leave.
I know
Well,
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, like, we're just being honest here. I mean, I
yeah.
don't mean
No,
it
no,
like in the rudest way, but like, or sometimes like your mood is what it is. Like sometimes you feel like, yo, I want to do this, cause yo, if you're doing the raid train life, this could turn into like very frequent. Like, okay, let's talk about that. So like, I assume you're just doing your live shit, and then at some point the pandemic fucks up your life.
yeah.
So
It was horrible.
so like what happened at that point for you?
Man, okay, so let's backtrack a bit. Because let's start. Okay, 2019. I was still DJing, but I wasn't passionate enough because I was doing gigs that were just kind of like heartless. I was making great money, but DJing at an empty room. I'm not going to name the place because I still want to go back there because I make money, but whatever. But I really hope whatever. Anyway, so yeah, I was doing gigs and making money, but I wasn't. And I had a daytime job and whatever. My life was just like pointless at 2019. So I knew I needed to recharge and get motivated. So I ended up doing at 2020, I ended up traveling and I went back to, could I go to California multiple times? I just love California. So I ended up for the second time going across California, but this time I started like in LA and made my way up to like Sacramento. But I know friends in California that I can always hook up with. But I like going to California because I could be a stranger. I always love going to Santa Monica, Venice Beach, just to hang out there. And what's cool is like people there are like super dope. They just like people of whatever class you are, if you're living in the streets or if you're just middle class or whatever, everybody's just kind of chilling with each other. So it was not hard for me to kind of just meet people and just talk, and they talk about their stories, like what we're doing right now, basically. You know what I mean? So and I went there. I met DJs. I had family in San Francisco, Oakland. I saw them. I have a friend DJ in Sacramento. She kind of helped me kind of rejuvenate my love for DJing because she at the time she was DJing at a bar, all nothing but vinyls, right? So she kind of challenged me to like, hey, I'll give you an hour set with the massive collection of vinyls that I have. Pick your whatever records and try to do a set for an hour. So I did. It was all funk music. I loved it. I got the scratch. And then the big kicker after Sacramento is I traveled all the way to New Orleans, and that music galore. I just fell in love with New Orleans. I got to listen to like jazz. I got to listen to blues. I met different people. I met different DJs, different artists. And this was all during a time when they were doing like a Star Wars themed Mardi Gras. So that freaked the hell out of me. So it was good. Like I was
Hold up.
motivated. I came.
You
Yeah,
were
go ahead.
at Mardi Gras? Mardi Gras?
Well, it wasn't like officially Mardi Gras, but it was a Star Wars themed Mardi Gras. So it was something that they closed off,
So
like
are we
tradition.
saying like stormtrooper heads and titties?
Well, it was a family friendly type of Mardi
Hmm.
Gras. Cause there were kids, but I wouldn't be lying if there was like at the one point of Mardi Gras that there were people showing some like some stuff. You know what I mean? Cause there were people throwing beads anyways. But I think for the most part, it was just fun to kind of just see people dress up cosplay of Star Wars and Star Trek themed like sci-fi.
That sounds
So
like
it was
a very fun Mardi Gras for me. I would like that one.
well, yeah. If I can go back, I just gotta remember it's like middle. If you remember middle of January, apparently it's a yearly thing.
Yo, bro,
Like
I'm
this
gonna
was
be
like
Googling Star Trek Mardi Gras or Star Wars Mardi Gras after this. I want to see pictures of this shit.
oh man, I'll send you pictures right after the stream or something. Don't just remind me. But yeah, it was crazy because the thing too is like after the parade, like the streets are just filled and a lot of bars were filled, so no, you couldn't go in. But there were still people like selling beer on the streets, so I got to hang with people in the streets while drinking beer. Cops were cool. Like there was a band playing outside. There was like two bands playing outside. I met this MC that was freestyling, and he was dope. You know what I mean? So it was just like, it was fun. It was fun times, and that's where it was kind of rejuvenating for me to musically to kind of get back to Montreal and just kind of be, back into the DJing scene with passion and optimism and stuff like that. So I was doing good. I was getting back, doing my weekly things. I was getting gigs, and I was, planning to do some gigs in, let's say, Toronto and Ottawa with people I've connected prior and stuff like that. And then it was good. And then March 2020 came in, and then boom,
Boom.
it was
Big change.
boom. I remember it was March 15th because that
It
was the
was.
date. Yes, because it was the date that I was temporarily let go from my day job that ended up being permanent, and then a lot of the gigs kind of closed and canceled. And I was just kind of like, ugh. And then throughout the summer, and then I got hurt and was crippled for 2 months in winter of last year. So that was a big ass depression right there. And it was tough. I'm not gonna lie, it's just one of those things where going into 2021, I knew that if I want to get back to passion and love of life and stuff, I want to just pursue the things that I want to do. So, and that was DJing. I knew it was going to be tough because we don't know what's going to happen, like let alone what's going to happen after the summer with all this, variance and all this and that. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna try to like at least get myself into a better position of trying to just be happy in life, right? So, uh, but yeah, that's kind of how it was for me during the pandemic. It was a lot of up and downs, you know. I think like everybody, every artist, every DJ that I know, every MC, every beat maker that rely on like, the career of an artist to get
Hmm.
through financially as well as, the hospitality life, bars and restaurants were closed. It was tough. It was tough in the sense that I was just kind of stuck in bed for a good 2 months doing nothing, and you know, I was doing Twitch and stuff, and it was cool, and I got to meet. The highlight was to just meet different DJs in different places, different MCs, and I met you, of course, and I've seen your stuff, like through Twitch, and it was fine and dandy. But again, it's like, you know, it was just kind of a big letdown, just going into 2020 with such high, like with just such a high, basically, of trying to, pursue a goal that I set myself for that year, and it just didn't fell through. And I'm just trying to push that mindset through 2021 and hopefully through 2022. But again, it's just kind of a little bit, because I used to kind of like plan out how things would go on for me, like a couple of like I plan things, right, per se. It's for as far as DJing and stuff like that. But it's just everything now that I try to do, it's gonna be basically with an asterisk, because I it's hard to tell what's gonna happen at this point with life. So,
That's
but
facts.
I'm trying to be optimistic. My saying throughout so many years is just live one day at a time, and it's more evident and important to me to keep that kind of notion to me now, just to go everything one day at a time, and we'll see.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, it's interesting you say that. Like, I've never made money on music. I've always just made money at work. So when the pandemic kicked in, it was like, I'll say a word. People are interested in the internet for the first time. This is really good for me. I've been doing this internet shit for a minute because I was not like ever getting paid to rap. So at a certain point, as like a person, I'm like, say a word. I probably am gonna not. I would have lost money in certain occasions to have like gone to shows rather than, and that's not really the, in like your late 20s, early 30s. The last thing you really want to be doing is losing money on a Friday night like that. And like when I
Yeah.
say it like that, I mean you might go, but what if no, trust me, you would have spent money to get on these tickets. You would have put up $50 just to get on the show. There's very few opportunities for me that weren't like that. And then I'm going down there and I recruited like no fans time and time and time again. Like it didn't actually give me an ROI. I actually just did better on YouTube. It was the facts of the situation.
Mm.
But then, what's crazy is March. I was like, okay, but like YouTube's not really like life, like it's like you do kind of want to like pursue the real life thing. And then I swear my first show that I had promoted, set up, ready to go, March 20th, 2020. And then March 15th came. I mean, on the other hand, I'm quite, like, in a sense, grateful because it didn't flop, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
like I threw a show and it flopped. In fact, I booked a bunch of people and I just, their names were on the flyer and whatnot, and then it just got canceled by the government. So I just kind of
Yeah.
came out of that with a lot of people remembering that I booked them for a show. But like,
You must have made a flyer, so you might as well just frame that and keep that as like
it's
a
the
memento of
background.
what could have been.
It's actually still, because it was the background on my work computer before COVID, because I was flexing. So like,
Yeah.
'cause, you see it on the monitor when you'd walk by, and then I just
Mhm.
never changed it. It's still the background on my work computer right now.
Just whatever. Just keep that as like a memento or something of a just kind of an idea of like to do it, maybe try again in the future or something like that, like a
No,
little
we are
motivation.
like straight up. Like I fucking swear, like this real life thing is there. But like for me, it's like you also can't now forget the internet because Twitch was really powerful in my life. Like it went from being boring to interesting, and really it's because YouTube Live is trash. Like to me as a platform, it's really trash.
Well, it
Um,
sucks because I did try YouTube Live and Facebook Live. I knew about Twitch too for a long time. I just never really pursued it until everybody really got into the Twitch bandwagon. But because I was at the time trying to do just like basically whatever DJ is doing online, I was trying to do that on YouTube Live or Facebook Live or even live stream. But again, it's like with DJs, it's tough because copyright infringement. So you get stopped if you're playing a
did
song.
you have that issue on Twitch?
No, not yet.
I don't think you're
Knock
gonna
on
have it
wood.
happen on Twitch yet.
Not well. Okay, so what is happening on Twitch right now is during live streams we don't get stopped. Not yet. I'm not.
I don't think it's gonna kick in. I'm telling you. I think
Yeah.
Amazon is like. Anyway, I have a theory on that, but go on.
Yeah. No, well, there is other platforms that are gonna be maybe coming for the forefront. Like, I know two in particular that I might jump in the future, but at least one of them is free, the other one you have to pay. But I think I don't have an opinion on in terms of what I think. It's just because there's just an amount of DJs that are on Twitch that are just doing it, and no DJs haven't been stopped yet in terms of their live streams. I know my pre-recorded stuff or post-recorded stuff that's saved is muted, at least a lot of sections of it. But I yeah, you know what? It might come maybe
I don't
sooner
think it
than
will
later.
though.
So,
Yo,
you
cause
don't
here's
think?
why. Cause yo, you can see it because Twitch went ahead and partnered with the little guys. I know it
Yeah.
sounds wild, and this might be a theory, but check it. YouTube partnered with Vivo in like 2010. What is
Yeah.
Vivo but the three major labels teaming up to go fuck off? We actually need to deal with making money on YouTube, and so it's really connected to the major labels, which just tells us off the jump that Google is down with the major labels. So really,
Yeah.
all of the copyright shit, it's to give more bank to the major labels, and that's like the deals they worked out.
Yeah.
Facebook is like everyone hates Facebook, so they're just under attack because they can, and so give us bank and the same kind of shit. And Facebook panders to the law because literally the government's scrutinizing them, so they just have no choice but to like uphold copyright law.
Yeah.
Twitch is owned by Amazon, who owns the backbone of the internet, which is Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
So my theory is literally nobody's gonna go after Amazon like that right now. And Amazon, instead of going alongside, so with the majors they comply with the muting because that's the video on demand. With the streaming though, whatever, they let it be. It's a different situation. It's a different set of rules. It's a different whole thing, right? But the real issue where everyone else is video on demand. So you're not,
Yeah.
so you're getting clipped because of the video element of it, right?
Yeah.
And so they mute the parts that would make the labels come and do it. But when you look at the Twitch situation, it was always manual DMCAs. It was never automatic.
Yeah.
So that means that people are like actively going out of their way to like attack it in a sense. And Twitch isn't necessarily cooperating, or because they could have this whole time,
Yeah.
but they chose not to. And they know that video on demand is not the reason people come to Twitch. They come to Twitch in order to watch the live streams.
Yeah, and I think now let's talk like now kind of like talking about it. It's just because there's just a massive amount of DJs all over the world that are just streaming for XYZ reasons. Obviously, they want to maybe make money. Obviously, they just need to for practice to connect with other DJs, to connect with people. And it for DJs for Twitch, as a DJ, it's there's a lot of benefits to it. I'm not like I'm thinking the most I've made is like $20, which is fine with me. But it's not like I want to make money. If I could get a lot of viewers and just kind of just do what I love to do, and just for them to just maybe be a part of their day for a good 2 hours, that's already golden for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm just entertaining with what I love to do as a DJ. But I think with Twitch and whatever Amazon, I think they should just, if it comes to the realization that they're getting more views and a good portion of it is because there's a lot of DJs, hey,
Well, I
all
just
power
think
to
that like DJ Twitch has decided to also like foster independent music, right? And I
yeah,
say that because they partnered with everything that's effectively Empire and Down, right? Which is the whole indie scene. So
yeah,
clearly they want to be a safe haven for music in a
yeah,
sense, right? Like this is a
yeah,
move. Why? Because gamers are like hella saturated and whatnot.
yeah,
And so again, this is all my theory, right? And
yeah,
so I think that knowing that YouTube is really pro major label shit, they're gonna just not give in the same way and cater in the same way. Instead, it feels
yeah,
like they're doubling down on the idea of music being a central part of Twitch. And if you do
yeah,
look at people who get clipped, it's always gamers using music in situations. So it's never really, you've not heard of anyone in music being fucked up by Twitch.
No.
So that leads me to believe that Twitch really has a vested interest in making sure that you're able to continue to DJ on Twitch. And you might lose your video on demand. That's a whole other situation.
Which is not an issue for me, to be honest with you. Like, I think for the most part, there was a point where I was just not saving my my videos just because there's no point, because a good portion of it has been kind of muted. But again, it's like your best bet. Like, and again, it's like if people want to hear you, you set a good, consistent time frame of when you want to DJ or whatever. People will show up just because they want to hear something in the background, or they just want to see you, or if you're like a really hot female DJ, they're gonna watch you. So you know what I mean. So it's an open field for DJs to just shine in general. Whether you only have like 2 like followers versus DJ like high class DJs that have like, you know, close to like 10,000 viewers or followers, you know what I mean? So the field is there. It's just that there's a lot of DJs, like there's a lot of gamers like that are just, you know, basically saturating. You know what? I don't think Paris Hilton's DJing anymore, so thank God to that. But I think for the most part, it's just it's good. I think for DJs and for artists, because I know bands and producers and beat makers are on here too, just showing up their stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of freestylers out there too.
There you go. You know what I mean? And again, this is a good field for just people who just, you know, still fretful of, you know, going outside, or just, you know, or introverts that just want to stay home and stuff like that. The field, the possibilities for Twitch just could be, it's just great. More so than being like, it's more of a pro than being a con type of thing.
Well, I mean,
at least in my mind.
I think the problem with Twitch is that a lot of people went into it thinking it's going to be like YouTube or something, and it's really not. Like YouTube and Facebook, these are algorithmic growth games. There's no real algorithm in Twitch. It's more like, if you want to grow on Twitch, you have to go make friends and go on their Discords and get into like, it's a lot of Discord work actually. Twitch is actually.
Are you on Discord?
Yeah. If anyone in my chat ever hits !Discord, I made a little macro that says come join the Discord. So the problem with the no algorithm, Ishmael, is that it makes it really fucking hard to like grow, because it literally means you need to kind of build a team out specifically on that like growth strategy, because you're busy live streaming all the time / doing your job / whatever, and then you're not really left in a position to like promote. Whereas something like YouTube, I was able to grow for that minute when it was like kind of growing a little bit, where like, I didn't actually have to do anything more than continue to create content, which worked out really well for me when I started on Twitch, because I had like somebody like you, Ishmael, and Lindell, if you're still watching, who would like come through in the chat when nobody else would. And it was almost like I got a kickstart. I got like a really fast growth, and then it went to a normal Twitch streamer's growth. But that fast growth was the result of like 4 years of YouTube and shit. But like, now that that's over and the YouTube algorithm is punishing me because interviews with people is not really its favorite thing, it's like, okay, this is a whole different growth grind where now I have to come at it like completely in different ways, because Twitch is a lot more like, I guess, door-to-door salesman-y, right? Like, you really have to go out there and like push your shit. And the other side of it is everyone else is fucking sending you DMs with their Twitch channel, so you're like, fuck, I can't be doing that shit now. So it's like you almost have to do this like super passive shit, but really it's like, you get on the Discords and then you make friends. So like I made friends with We Speak English Good. We're like sister channels, as they call it, because he does like interviews and shit, and I'm like, say a word, and he's like, you do interviews and shit, and we're just like, so we've interviewed each other. And then the problem for me is most of my interview peers are like, Twitch? What's a Twitch? I'm like, it's a place where you can make more money than where you're at right now, because I did a little better than you did. There's this random one guy in Alabama, I think it is, and he just single-handedly is giving me like about $100.
Wow.
I don't know why. Nobody knows, but he has. And it's like it's wild, but like yo, it's not been that shit for me. Plus, like, if you're able to somehow get to a situation where people are gifting you their Amazon Prime subs and shit like that, like, you do a little better than $20. And then so it's like there is that potential there, but the other side of it is like it's really hard to like get people to want to tune in on a regular. And then it's like that consistency thing where most days I don't really expect anything anymore. Like but the problem is at first it's like drugs, right? You get this crazy growth and then your numbers like fucking drop, or all of a sudden like it went from like people's there the second you go live to I know ain't shit happening until this point, and then you're like sitting there by I have streams sometimes where I sit there for like 20 minutes by myself and I'm like I've been doing this for a long time to be sitting here for 20 minutes by myself. But then that's like ego and shit. I get that. And then all of a sudden the people come and whatnot and it's a good time. But like, it's like it went from feeling, and then you're in that next part where you're like, oh, say word, this doesn't feel as good for my ego. It's a good experience to go through that. I'm not saying that it's not. And then you have to remember why you do things. Like, you have to constantly remember why you do things, because like if you don't, like, you get caught up in distractions like, oh my gosh, nobody's here today, or where the fuck is somebody, or why is the chat not here today? The chat was so lit last night. What the fuck?
No, it's I have like, there are times where I would be happy with like 20, 30. I think the most I ever had views coming on would be about maybe 30 to 40 viewers, but that's because I was part of a raid train.
Bro, I got hit with 40 viewers one time, and it's because Pryce rated me. It was the Don Smooth interview. You see it in my stats. It's like this one spike that's bigger than all the other spikes.
That's it. But I think like you, I've had a lot of streams where it was just one viewer, and that one viewer is me with another account. I'm like, trade secrets, whatever. But it's just like,
hold the fuck up. I have a girlfriend, but I never thought of making a second account.
Tricks of the trades, my friend.
That's fair, right?
Tricks of the trade.
This guy MX in South Africa got raided by Harry Mack with over 500 peoples.
One day I would like to get a raid of just like 500 people. I probably won't reach that goal.
So here's the thing. It's also like availability, right? Somebody, I know for a fact that I was on a raid with somebody and I was with MX in the chat. It may have been after the MX interview, and we were in a Twitch chat where there was a fucking mod for the Harry Mack fucking stream in that chat. You guys don't all know this, right? But me and MX know this because we talked about that in the chat. We were geeking out at this fucking moment where they were like, say word. That's like the Harry Mack or whatever. And I don't know. I didn't really follow up on that. Maybe it just happened that whoever was there clicked on both our channels and saw what MX did in that moment, right? Because we were both like flexing, whatever. I just said I interviewed him or whatever. And I don't know who got us there. Probably Ismail. Ismail guides my raid everywhere. Ismail is the reason I know who you are. Ismail is just like, people need that though. That's what people understand. Is like Ismail is just out there looking for dope content. That's all he cares about, right? He frankly, in my opinion, doesn't have other priorities. He just likes what he likes, and then he wants to connect those dots. And with that, it's like people like that are how you grow on Twitch, because evidently somehow going to that situation led to fucking Harry Mack. I'm not like saying I did that. I'm saying I'm pretty sure I was in the moment that led to that. Like, I'm pretty sure I was privy to that moment, and that's fucking amazing to see though. But like, that's how the Twitch game works. You have to and then he probably went back to that stream and showed up, and I fucking can't remember the name of the streamer right now. That's how not good at that part of the grind I am at this point in my life. But like, so he did that, and then he fucking mentioned my name in a fucking bar in that moment. Like, I fucking swear, I've never had that happen. He's like fucking like something like behind that suit feeling like I'm Holden, and I'm like, did he just And then like, right after like this Eminem bar, and right before this like fucking, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Anyway, that was like an amazing moment in my life. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm jealous. I'm so.
Nah, DJ
but
Overflow.
yeah.
But yo, part of it though is availability, right?
Yeah.
And being available. I mean,
There was I think you've seen me. I was doing like 3 to 4 nights a week, and then I slowly stopped. Well, I slowly cut down to like 2 or whatever, and then the summer hit where it's just like I was trying to get more gigs outside, but at the same time I wanted to go out because, like every Canadian, we were stuck inside for winter. Montreal, we were on a lockdown, so we all just want to just kind of like
it was the best
get
for
out,
me.
freedom.
That's a huge thing that hit my like why people are like, you know, people have lives now in a way they didn't, and it changed the Twitch dynamic.
Yeah, but I think for me, I'm gonna probably go back to doing Twitch once like fall, winter, when it's not like I don't. We'll see what happens in terms of what's gonna go on in terms of bars and stuff, but I don't think it'll be as impactful.
Yo, let me ask you a serious question.
Go ahead.
Why are you not busting out a device and going live on Twitch from the bar?
I've pitched that idea to a lot of places. The thing is,
the places don't want to do that.
Yeah, because I have to ask a lot.
Actually,
of things.
Like, now that I think about it, let's say we do this shit on Sunday hypothetically, and you come DJ it. I want to stream it, so I don't want you to stream it.
Yeah,
I actually now understand why. Okay, I get it.
But the thing is, I did pitch the idea. The thing is, a lot of places that I DJ necessarily don't have like strong internet connection. I need to bring like extra stuff, like my maybe I have a laptop, but I was running my stream through a desktop, like a Mac Mini. So I would have to bring that, plus to bring a monitor to kind of make sure, because I can't
just run it on like a tablet.
Well, because I want to. Can you do all the overlays on that with a tablet?
I'm gonna be real with you. If I'm standing in a park, I don't give a fuck about overlays.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, like I don't know if you've ever seen how bad my stream looks by comparison to dude. That's the black OBS background on the stream. That's not like art. That's just the black of OBS with nothing on it. That's how little. I mean, you could argue maybe I could try harder on graphics. I'm like, well, why, man? Like, I don't think a lot of people are avidly watching this with their eyes locked on it. You know, like,
and even
they might watch the
like,
chat. Sure, I'll give you that. But like, then they're watching the chat.
It'd be more for me, like thinking about it'd be more about the music, right, that I would play. And
plus, you can still have like the stream elements and shit running if you're on the Twitch on your phone.
Yeah, I'll kind of have to run the logistics, but I do want to do that where I would just, you know, and that was the idea during the summer that I pitched to a few places where I would just kind of like DJ at whatever night or whatever, and then stream at the same time. I just wouldn't be able to like communicate because I wouldn't be able to see the chat, or I wouldn't be able to talk because I don't usually talk on the mic when I'm DJing elsewhere. So this would be kind of like whatever comment comes, it would come, and I wouldn't be able to see it. But I don't know. Just
I mean, you could also just like manage people's expectations. I can't see the chat in the title of the stream, you know.
Just put a sign or wear a T-shirt or something that says like I can't see the chat. So
I mean, because like that's how I see it working. Because like, yo, I mean, I want to start doing real life stuff, which means, yo, what am I supposed to do about Golden Jenny in Norway? When I said we was doing the show and the homeboy Willie Scandals, who also does his thing Friday nights and whatnot, was gonna be there, she was like, you better stream that. It wasn't like I was given a choice. It was like I felt a little pressure from Norway that it, you know, like, so. And then we did it on the phone. And was the sound amazing? No. But like, did it matter? I don't think so. I think people that are like really just there to vibe with you and see what you're up to, maybe they like don't, maybe they're really snobby about the sound, but maybe they just fuck with watching you in a live environment.
I was kind of thinking of doing like just record whatever, my either a 2-3 hour set of where I'm DJing or whatever throughout the night, and just kind of post it on Twitch like live but pre-recorded, and then just promote it. That was another idea that I was thinking, but uh again, just maybe that could be another forefront of what I can do, just to promote myself and the bar and whatever to come, like next time type of thing. But I don't know, just there's a lot of ideas of what I can do.
I just look at it like bars is a questionable future for me. I look at it like I don't know what happens to bars. I mean, I know there's a sect of people that will be bar loyalists till they fucking die, kind of thing, right? But
Well, they're
like,
alcoholics, so it's fine.
but alcoholics had to adapt their habits over the last year and a half.
Well, just yeah, I guess drink it at home.
But they adapt. No, the man, they're in the parks, bro.
Oh man, yeah,
parks like crazy right now. Everybody's drinking in parks right now. It's fucking wild.
yeah. I should contest because I do live by like close by the water park or whatever here, and I do see a lot of people just kind of like chilling, drinking, and doing other questionable stuff.
I know the young people that I talk to aren't really that into bars due to the fact that drinks are expensive and they don't have money.
Yeah,
Or they're
but
rich and they like clubs, which is a whole other thing.
I've seen a lot of, I don't know if it's like a lot going on in your neighborhood, but where there's a lot of like parking lots that are just filled with young people driving their cars and just hanging out and like whatever, drinking or doing shit and stuff like that. I don't know if that's gonna be the new trend now. Like,
I do think that you're tapping into what the new trend is, especially here. I think, because let's be a little bit honest. A lot of the live local scene was not, like, in a fiscal sense profitable for the bar owner to host the hip hop show. It wasn't profitable for the rappers to be at the show, and it wasn't profitable for the promoter for the most part, or they'd break even. So
yeah.
like, end of the day, this isn't like the signs of a healthy and thriving synergy between this type of venue and the people that are interested. And I think, but meanwhile, the best shows I ever performed at, and I've thought about this a lot recently, was at the Fatal Loft. I don't know if you've ever been down there.
Yeah, it's been a while though.
But like, because you could smoke weed inside and you could drink and you could just, it was maybe a little harder stuff happening there too. But like, that shit was
trying to remember when I was there.
It was like 80 people, 100 people max, but it would be like, I'm saying, like, I would do like 30-minute sets and these motherfuckers is glued to the stage watching you, and you're like, say word, and they're just lighting up and they're having a good time. And I was like, okay, so this can happen, but that's a whole different like vibe, because also we're like, so I guess it hit me like we're like underground hip-hop artists. And maybe that means we need like underground environments, because Fatal is kind of as underground as I ever went. No, that's not true. I also ended up in this building. It was fucking wild. It was just like, I don't know where it was. I couldn't for the life of me tell you. But you walked up your third floor, walked through some shit, and you're just in this room that's now like a venue, and it was a fucking like third floor of an apartment building. You had to go on the like balcony way to smoke pot type thing. Yeah. It was what I performed there. Yeah, that shit got shut down by the cops, like right after my set. I was like, I had just finished, shit got shut down. I was like, oh, say word. Fuck, I forgot about it. So, but those environments still had a lot of people. But like the bars, nah. Or like you go to the rave scene, man, do you remember like those like abandoned building rave parties in the 2012 era? You'd have like 500, 1,000 people at some of these things.
There was a raid I went to. It was behind a Chinese restaurant.
Oh my gosh!
Do you remember?
I know. I've been there.
It's the one. Yeah, they were playing. Well, when I was there, it was trap, dubstep, and maybe a bit of drum and bass or something. But I know they played various music on various nights. But yeah, it's a downtown.
Yeah.
That Chinese restaurant, underground.
And then they would turn off the water, the cold water, so the only water available was warm water, so you would have to go fucking buy water bottles.
Yes, I remember, because I went there like at 3 after my gig. It was like 3-4 in the morning, and a friend of mine was just like, hey, let's just go check it out and whatever. I remember paying, I don't know how much it was, like $10 or whatever at the door, but then it's like, You go in. I don't think they served alcohol, but they had energy drinks and yeah, a bottle of water.
That was it.
And I would,
That was all
and
that
I was
was
just,
sold there.
but yeah, but then I was just like, it was still a good time. I had a good time. It was just, but yeah, I've like for sure a lot of those underground or whatever are happening right now as we speak, and but it's just hidden gems, right? So because again, those were the things about underground shows or under like warehouse shows, and I remember friends of mine that would do like little raves at like forest, like at a forest, like 40 minutes outside of Montreal at this little who knows where, and they would just play like jungle music and stuff like that. I've only been to a few times like after hour like raves, but this is when I was like super young.
Yeah,
But
I went
like
to with my brother in 2012-ish, somewhere around when I started rapping for reals. My brother had been in the DJ scene for a minute, and he was like actively a DJ for like 3 years. And yo, so I would go to like support him and do Molly. It was amazing. And so like, yo, it was amazing. It was some of the best nights. Like I don't give I just wrote an album about doing Molly and striking out. Like I fucking swear, I just recapped all those memories into a project that's coming. But like it was truly incredible shit, man. The first time you stand in front of a speaker, ripped out of your fucking mind, listening to deep bass music is something that you will never forget for the rest of your life. Like it is an incredible time. Plus you remember the shit that happens when you're on Molly. So it's like a good one like that.
I'm not gonna lie, I've never taken Molly, I've never taken shrooms. I've only been like drinking beer and smoking weed, but that's as far as I go in terms of like drugs.
It has
So,
been probably half a decade since I've touched that. I'm not even gonna lie. It's like more like memories now. But as far as like the nature of being in the abandoned place, the grimy shit, where in all things considered, some of these places probably weren't very safe now that I'm in my 30s. And like, but they were so, I mean, people would just be like doing everything everywhere. Like, like it was like wild. And I was like, as much as I don't want to fully recreate that, like, how do you recreate that? Like that's the magic of it. And I guess it has to be deep underground, secretive.
But that's a young man's game. Like, I think you could still all do all that. You just gotta, depending if you're just, if you really want to go experiment again at your age.
No. I mean, I'd rather just get like a loft and do it a little like.
Yeah, do a loft or anything like underground, like warehouse or something. Like it's just like
I don't want to do the drugs part. I just want the cool party part.
I think shows like that would probably be good. You know what I mean? But again, it all varies. Like of course, for me, I want to keep it as safe as possible in terms of.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not advocating that we should all go break into abandoned warehouses. I'm saying that those parties were fucking incredible.
Yeah, they were. Because it's just like, I just remember with those type of raves, parties and stuff, it was new because I don't go to those all the time. Like friends that I know that would go to like a lot of these stuff like that are just like underground. But I just remember a few times when I go, it was just kind of like eye opening because people were just kind of like, they were just kind of like vibing out. I guess they were on drugs and stuff or whatever, but they were just kind of like feeling the music and like kind of like doing their kind of like whatever dance. And I'm just there on the side, just feeling the bass and feeling the heavy, like music, feeling it. Because it doesn't take like drugs for me to kind of like feel the music, because I'm already just kind of like whatever on music in general. But I just remember just kind of like vibing out, opening my kind of like experience and just kind of like just feeling it in a sense where it's just like, because again, I love drum and bass. Like every time I can go to a rave and listen to like old school like UK drum and bass, anywhere, like I'll just kind of like eat that shit and just feel it. I love it as much as like, let's say, funk music and hip hop and stuff, because drum and bass it just kind of has that kind of like fast paced kind of like jungle vibe feeling You know what I mean? So like every time I play, like I listen to every time I drive or whatever, and there's like a drum and bass track, like I'll just crank it up and just feel it. You know what I mean? So, man,
So
maybe I
like
should.
in my
Yeah,
30s, where I'm currently at in life, yeah, I'm with you. Back
yeah,
then, yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. Prior to going to that rave and doing those, I think it was ecstasy the first time, and then the rest was
okay.
Molly's because the speed shit was not my cup of tea, at all. That shit's fucking
I
not my
I
thing.
don't think I could do it. Like I was already hopped up on energy drinks and coffee at the time. I
Mm,
remember one point I was gonna have a heart attack because I was just
yeah.
drinking nothing but
To
Red
be fair,
Bulls
I
and
was I
vodka.
was also like heavy into coffee for a minute, like way more than I
Yeah,
am now. But like
yeah,
my brother did a lot of speed, and it was like, yo, that I tried a quarter pill one time. I couldn't fucking sleep. I felt like an asshole the entire next day. It was not my shit. But I do
yeah,
remember the first time, like when I went to my first rave, I was not into EDM. Like I did not like the genre of music. I did not fuck with it. There were no
yeah.
lyrics. And at that time in my life, if the shit had no lyrics and I couldn't fucking rap or sing along to it, what the fuck was the point of me listening to it? That was really where I was at in my life. Then I did a lot of that. I got high as a kite, man. It was fucking wild. But the music was all I remembered. And then I remembered sobering up, and I loved it still. Like I loved the music and the vibe, and I felt like for the first time in my life, I understood who this music was for. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something I had a lot of trouble with in life, like understanding who music was for. So I liked what was for me, but I couldn't understand shit that wasn't for me for a minute. But then that experience of the few times I would go to raves ripped, and then you just like faded, just like and you're just like gone. You don't need anything else in your life in that moment. And I never really
Yeah.
felt shit like that before to that extent, in that kind of like resonating simplicity almost of just this pulsating everything. And I had no stamina to dance, and I fucking wish I could have danced because I was not in shape enough to dance back then. But like that would be the only reason I'd want to fucking pop a Molly now, is to just because I could dance now and it would be a lot more fun. So like that would be it, but not enough to like fully do it. But like that like whole vibe, it just, now I love EDM, and I love it a lot because it almost in a sense, in that way of memories, brings me
Mm.
back to that environment where like you've been in parties probably this whole time, right? Because that's what you do as a DJ. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily party. So like music that's like designed for like maybe certain energies I didn't understand until like then all of a sudden it's like this like Rosetta Stone unlocked it for me, and it stuck with me. And that was the crazy part for me, was how like I didn't need drugs again to enjoy it. It
Mm.
was just that drugs kind of unlocked my enjoyment of it.
Yeah. But that's again, that's what music is. It just triggers kind of your mood set, your memory masks, and yeah, I EDM was a good. I was a questionable time because I liked it, but there were times where like because there's EDM music and then there's popular EDM music that you could hear on the radio. I was just more kind of into the underground and listening to more like remixes of like EDM, like of tracks using EDM beats and stuff. But yeah, that those 2000 or like 2000s to early 2010s when EDM was like big, like I was playing a lot of it at certain places, but I do like it more when there's no lyrics just because it's just more of a feel vibe to it, so you do get an appreciation of like, you just kind of feel the motion of like a beat that's like about 125 BPMs just pulsating at you. Well, I
I'm a
guess you would feel a bit, you would feel it more when you're like on whatever
You know,
drugs or stuff.
I don't think I would. I think you feel it more than high people do. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
real with you, because I feel it
Okay.
more now. Like I would argue that at this point in my life, I'm more in touch with music than I've ever been. Like just in my
Yeah.
soul, I started to learn to move to it, and I
Mhm.
opened my mind to multiple genres. And so I
Mhm.
feel like, yo, I hear music, I just want to dance in the streets type of thing. So like, nah, man, drugs don't give me that. That was like
Yeah.
falling in love with music that gave me that. And
Yeah.
I just think the way you are, you've been in love with music for so fucking long that like, now you probably vibe out harder than the kids on drugs. You can't even really appreciate the music because they probably zonked out a bit.
There are times where I would just literally go to a club or a concert and I wouldn't even just like Yeah, okay, well maybe I'll groove or dance, but I'm not a dancer per se, even though I can, do a two-step or whatever. But I think I could go to a club, or I've done it too, where I would literally go to a club and not even like concentrate on what's on the dance floor. I could look at a DJ literally and just watch what he's doing and watch what he's playing and be entertained
I say
versus
word, eh?
yeah, because it's just, and especially too, I like it more when I know the DJ, because I'll know what he's playing or I'll have an idea of what he's playing. And I could, yeah, and not a lot of people, like, I can go to a concert and still have a good time, even if it's by myself or with somebody, but I don't necessarily need to be in a crowd or whatever. I could be in the back, or I could be up on the, second floor in the back, just watching a performance, watching a DJ. Because again, that's what music is to me, because it'll just hit me like a bolt of lightning or something. And a lot of times when I walk around or when I drive, I need to have music. If I, like, I'll always have my phone filled with music and have my headphones with me if I ever want to walk to, like, I've done it where I've walked like literally through St. Catherine Street, listening to music constantly with just a random playlist and just feel it, because it's just it's 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 kind of like a soundtrack to what's going on with me for what I'm feeling. So like I think music, it is a very important thing in my life because it's kind of like the soundtrack to my life. You know what I mean? So it's just I can concentrate on nothing around me but whatever I'm hearing in my ears, if it's like rock music or EDM or hip hop or songs that kind of trigger memories, good times in my life, or even bad times. There are a lot of songs that remind me of like people that that I appreciate, or people that I hated, and then just it'll trigger a music soundtrack or a song, or I can remember a time when something happened to me and then a song was playing, or there was like a, or just like whatever band or whatever concert I went to with a friend. I always remember a friend of mine listening to this particular music. It's a powerful thing. Like, it's just, I don't know how more, I can't describe more how I feel about music, in a sense that it's just an important kind of navigation. I always say like music is a radar, in a sense that music is the one that kind of guides me to how I feel, or how I kind of perceive how my day is going to go, how my mood's going to be. And yeah, I could just literally just watch a DJ just play for 5 hours, do nothing, and still have a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I respect that about you. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
this is your passion. Now, like, one of the other things I like about DJ Overflow that y'all don't know, that like one of my first interactions with this guy is, yo, I see you're working with Pryce. How do I come through and scratch? I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna work on the internet, but but like that was the first thing this guy says to me. I'm the real fuck.
What up to Vince if he's watching? But yeah, no,
Vince is like, Vince just had a kid. He's in the
I
first
know,
year
I
of being a
know, yeah, I
dad, and
know,
it's like, he's like, yeah, Holden, the internet is much better for me right now. It's all I'm
yeah.
trying. You want me around? This
Yeah.
stays on the internet. That's what I'm trying to say.
I know Vincent through friends and other beat makers, but the thing is, I didn't know this for years that we were neighbors, because when I lived in Verdun, he literally lived like a couple, like not like maybe 2 minutes from me, and we didn't know each other since, but I knew who he was, and we were DJing at the same spot. He was doing Thursdays and I was doing Fridays at the same spot, because he was just DJing on the side too. But I knew his reputation from making beats for local artists. I know his rap. I know him through other beat makers too. So it's like so that's why and I love his beats. So
Yeah, he's
I
a
give him, he's
fantastic beat
dope.
maker.
He's kind of up there with one of my favorite like underground local beat makers. So That's why I always put him in high regards. To at least whatever he puts out, I always listen. So
Yeah, I feel like mad blessed to know him. I had no idea who the fuck he was when he hit me up in like late
yeah,
December to be like, yo,
yeah.
I see you're doing the Murder Face review. I already talked to CL about this, but I was in Murder Face. Can I come? I'm like, what? You were in Murder
Yeah.
Face? And I was so confused. And then all of a sudden, now me and Vincent are doing this shit like for like over 6 months now. Like it's
Well,
week 30.
shout out to Cool Man Logan as
Yo,
well.
shut up, cool man, Logan,
He
Logan,
came. He
Logan,
came.
Logan.
He. I know he came a few. I met him through Under Pressure, of course. But I know wherever a few times where I was DJing, I would see him. So and then he would come by, show some love. And I know I know for years he's been on the grind as well as an MC. Coming out with. I know he came out with some stuff through Spotify. But you got to give it to a lot of like local artists that are just trying to get out there, and yeah, CL is one that that is just he's doing this for the love, of course, and especially through tough times. But he that's his passion, right? So
Yo,
I would
CL is
yeah
amazing. I feel like
yeah
CL is just like blossoming into the best CL he's ever been.
yeah. I think the more you get to know the business and how it works for you, the more you kind of shine. And I think that's kind of where he is in terms of lyrics. Because I do like his kind of playful spin on a lot of like I guess a lot of moments that he would spit on through his tracks, and I know he likes to play with words too. So I gotta give him shout out and mad love.
Yo, Cool Man Logan's amazing. He's
Yeah,
become another person that, by sheer virtue of Vincent Pryce, I am sure that because of that relationship, I am better friends with Cool Man Logan now.
yeah,
Like, yo, Vincent Pryce unlocked a lot of doors by accident for me. I had no idea how relevant this guy was. And I don't think, like, he came at me all meek and shit. Yo, like, what's up? My name's Vincent. I was, like, that was, like, the attitude. I was like, say a word. What? And then I
yeah,
found out that, like, he did the interview, and I'm like, whoa, you're that guy? I'm like, your career is, like, fucking impressive. And he raps. And his raps
yeah,
are, like, he has one of my personal favorite sloppy flows. That's what I'm going to call
yeah.
it. It's a good sloppy flow.
I respect his opinions on movies too, because besides music, I am a movie buff, and I know he does podcasts reviewing like classic movies.
Yeah.
I love his takes on kung fu flicks, because that's my kind of heart and soul. But he's all around. He's a dope dude. Like from the years that I've known him or get to know him, so it's like yeah, like I think for him, I told him too, like if you should like for a beat maker, like you should be up there to kind of shine with what you like kind of created and like post. So um but again, all hats to him, like for his kind of push to whatever he wants to do moving forward. Like I know it's just yeah, he just had a kid, and I know he's trying to get there and stuff, but I think at the end of the day it's like just
Nah, he's got like
keep doing
some.
his thing.
So yo, on the real, he's got some shit cooking up. I'm not allowed to talk about specifics, but like I'm privy to say that excitement, and then his motherfucking hard drive crashed.
Yeah, I saw the post.
And so it's
uh,
like, oh my god. But first of all, the fact that this opportunity appeared, we're gonna get more. He's gonna get more opportunities. It's the facts of life, you know. The other parties, oh my gosh, his hard drive crashed at the exact same time, and so yeah, I'm only bringing it up because there's an actual GoFundMe for it right now that we have running.
I saw the GoFund. Yeah.
And yeah, like we got it to like 850 plus 50. There's a plus 50 because yeah, it is what it is. I'm not gonna put it in because then I have to pay a 2% fee to pull it out, so that seems stupid.
Yeah.
So like we got a lot, right? So like worst case scenario, like the blow's gonna be like heavy, but at least it's not as heavy, and it's amazing to see that.
Is it really that much to
Yeah.
retry?
So
I didn't
like
even think it
it's
would be up to like 2 bills, like
so like what
2 Gs.
happens is like the data is there, but the entire mechanics of the fucking machine is broken and unable to read the data. So look, this happened to me like a few years back with my engineer, and one day we get to the session, I have features coming through, and we walk in the door, he's like, Holden, the hard drive's broken. I'm like, what the fuck? So anyway, there's this lab out there, and it has like this specific lab conditions. I can't go better than that. And what they do is they take the shit down to the base components and run it through super fucking computer shit, and then copy the data onto another fucking thingy, and then rebuild your shit and blah blah blah. And it uses high tech, super fancy gear, and it's like legitimately like when you read the process, you're like, okay. Like, I can't explain it. That's how, like, you know, I could probably learn it a little better for the amount of times I might tell the story. But let's just say it runs up to about one of the estimates he got was $1,350. So, like, it really is that expensive. That's why I put it at 15, because I'm like, yo, it's going to be like 15. That's how much it costs to get this shit, because they can do it. That's what's crazy, is there's like a 98% chance, I'm going to say, because they might not be able to. Because all this shit basically is at this point where he's going through it all the local options, because the frankly, like, shipping off the hard drive to like the States or LA or where the fuck this place is a little scarier. It's like a last resort option. So he went to this dude, Vitaly, and Vitaly couldn't do it, spent 4 days working on it. Next guy, blah, blah, blah. Basically, a lot of these places are also like, if we can't fix it, we don't charge you. That's partly why it's probably so expensive. Anyway, so he's got like one more option in Montreal to explore, and then after that he's gonna try out this lab thing, is what I understand. So legitimately though, it's like all of the stems and shit. So like, yo, it's like a heavy blow to like lose all the stems to like all your shit.
Yeah, I had a similar issue before, because I accidentally wiped out everything that was on my MacBook. But luckily for me, I was able, because I have like 4 hard drives, like external hard drives, where I'll just like double, triple save everything. Because I've had issues where I lose a lot of my music or mixtapes, and like I have a gazillion music for, weddings and stuff like that. So it's not like it's hard to like retrieve all that, but it's a bit of a hassle when you have a gazillion music library.
Yeah.
So I feel him, because it's like, especially too, like when I was doing mixtapes, I still have them saved, and a lot of my a lot of the stuff that I stream, or like scratch videos that I would do, I save them on the side and I'll put them in my hard drive. So, but I have had issues where I had a hard drive crash and I pretty much lost everything. So I just pretty much started everything from scratch again. And then realized that, you know what, like I'll save, I'll put in the money to get like 3 or 4 hard drives, and maybe get like a Google Drive or whatever, and like
So
pay monthly to just make sure.
yeah, it's definitely a lesson. We learned the
Yeah.
lesson. But
No,
like
you
it's
you
a
you learn stuff the hard way,
like
and
I
then you
know
just kind of.
one time my computer died, and it was really like I lost 3 sets of lyrics. That's the truth of it. But I was at this point, I was doing this series called Raps on Everything, where I was doing non-hip hop karaoke beats. That was my only rule, because I was so frustrated with rappers not wanting to rap on shit. Like, it's a big thing for me. That's weird. It's been weird for me my whole career. But like, so like I used to sit there with these producers and be like, okay, let me play beats, see if you can rap on it. And it's math, right? Like most shit's in 4/4. Throw death metal at me if you want to stump me, because 3/4 is fucking hard, okay? 3/4 is fucking hard. Throw a Tool beat at me, I will have trouble on Tool. But like, so anyway, I got this knife party fucking song, and I wrote this fucking amazing shit over this, and I loved it a lot. And then I lost the hard drive, like the computer died, got the new computer, realized I lost those lyrics, and I could never rewrite the song. Like it's gone. And that's the problem with the creative side of it. Like that, like I can't, it's just gone. Those are like words, and I don't remember it, and I could never do it again.
Do you keep lyrics? Like, do you type them, or
Yeah,
or
everything's
you?
typed. Yeah,
Okay, you don't write them.
not in years.
Okay.
I know in 2014 I still did handwriting because I did that shit in Israel, but like,
Okay.
honestly, I fucking hate it when you scratch shit out and then you have to rewrite it all, and then you scratch and then you have to rewrite it all, and like I got really mad at that process because like I'd be in the vibe and then it got too messy, so and I'd lose like 3 minutes of vibe rewriting it, and then you might lose the vibe rewriting your lyrics, and it's just like, nah, this is not conducive to like whatever. And then I got Microsoft Word or Notepad or whatever the fuck it was on whatever phone it was, and it was like, oh, backspace is fucking fast. And I don't know, for at least 6-7 years I've been writing on my phone almost exclusively. Now actually it was really hard to learn how to write on a keyboard. With the streaming, it was like with a keyboard and a mouse, and I'm like, wait a second, this isn't my phone. So I actually took it, like, I know it seems like it's the same, but it was a little different. But yeah, I just digital, and then I've had Dropbox for years now, because like after that moment I started paying for Dropbox and shit.
Okay.
Well, no, I got it on my phone for free for 2 years, and then I started paying for Dropbox and shit.
Okay.
And yeah, but like I just find it easier to keep it all digital with the lyrics. Like, yo, like how are you really supposed to go through like 47 notebooks in a realistic way? Like I can just control F a fucking specific bar and find the word file.
Yeah, that's it. No, I get to each his own. Like I don't know. I just thought I know a lot of lyricists would ultimately keep their stuff like they would type on their phone or whatever, like a notepad or with
No,
or
a
notes.
lot of rappers love the pen and paper. A lot of them.
Well, because it's the old school feel, right?
I've had the conversation a lot, and there's an aesthetic value to pen to paper that I couldn't. This is the one argument I couldn't ever work around. Was there's an aesthetic value to creativity that somehow, like maybe the drawing element tops in. I don't know how to fully describe it, but yo, unless people can replicate digitally the feeling of a fucking pencil hitting a paper or a pen hitting a paper in a way that feels the same to people, I can accept that there's an aesthetic quality to that. Because, yo, I was on some, like, I work for a company that makes a PDF editor. So in, like, 2014, I'm literally researching and coming up with content related to, like, going paperless and all this shit, right? So, like, psychologically, I'm like, well, fuck a pen and pad. That's wasteful. And I know, like, it sounds away, but, like, it's kind of wasteful.
No, I completely agree.
So, like, I mean, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's grind or whatever. I mean, do your thing. Actually, the paper industry is pretty self-sufficient at this point, so it's not that bad of a thing, but it does prevent 200-year-old oaks from coming. It's just, it is what it is. It's pretty self-sufficient. So, like, a lot of people explain the aesthetic value, but for me, it was never like that. I felt like, because like I can type like way faster than I think anybody that's ever chatted with me can see how fast I can fucking come up with like ideas to fingers coming out. So it was really just like writing was too slow for my brain, in my opinion. And like it just was more natural. I really like the keyboard. It is my favorite thing in the world.
I was talking to, I don't remember who, but it was, I think, one of the MCs that I met when I was in California or in the States or whatever.
But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's just because I asked that question, the same question. It's because I want to know, like, I see a guy who was writing, pen and pad or a notebook and pad, but apparently for what helps him is to kind of like solidify a memory, so they know like that what they're writing is what they're gonna remember with their lyrics. So a lot of times they go old school to write down whatever lyrics or notes or something on a pen and paper just for memory purposes. I don't know if that's kind of like.
I feel like there is an argument to be made in certain contexts that like the act of writing with a pen, I've really gone deep on this topic, that the act of writing with a pencil will break your focus enough to pay more attention rather than automating. And the problem with typing is that it's so mechanical that ultimately you can kind of zone out more. But I find that like post that initial point, what I do is like systemically, like I write my file in a way where like my lines are, and so each line is like kind of constructed and like you know it. Like even if there's no system, every file is almost unique. Sometimes there's even typos I leave in there, and I'm just that's what the file looks like to me. So
Yeah.
like and then you write that, and then but like the way I write is I'll be like, I'll spit the first bar and then type that out, and then if until I stop, then I
Yeah.
wrap the whole thing and write out the next lines till I stop. Then I wrap the whole thing, then I write out the next lines till I stop, and then I run that till the verse is done. Then I do that with the hook. Then I do that with the next verse, and then I do that. So it's like I don't know. And then when it comes time to performing, well, I just read everything. My entire career is me like reading off my fucking notepad. I don't know what people talk about when they're like, you could tell with motherfuckers. Well, bro, I read my whole thing and none of y'all ever once accused me of it, yo. And you're like, yo, your flow's so good. Yeah, I read the whole thing. I don't have fucking. Since I've been like 27, you think I have time to memorize every fucking bar if I can? But to be fair, you have to know what you're doing, and I did waste a lot of time. But at the same time, like there's value in practicing your shit ahead of time, save whatever, but like I mean, you just have to know your shit. Knowing your shit and memorizing your shit are two different tiers.
Yeah.
So like knowing my shit with my phone, I'm good to go. I practice the fuck out of it. I don't have to like know it fucking by heart. By heart, oh my god, that's for the show. That's a live show. Unless I am performing this motherfucker, why am I gonna put like 6 hours now into memorizing it? You have too many songs. And that's kind of what happened too, is like when I started doing it, you know, like I had 8 songs. Now I've got like a lot of songs. I have so many songs that like I don't know the words to all of them anymore. Sometimes I hear some shit and I'm like, I made that. Wow. That's like, you know, like that's the part where I'm at. So it's like, nah, I think it's like you just kind of like figure out ways that work for you. I know like some people it matters to know everything by heart on the grind, ready to go. That's not that important to me.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I guess it's just how whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No,
And it's
because
like
it's kind
again,
of
like because I heard a lot of people answer it, and it's no disrespect to them. Some people are like amazingly different. Everybody has such different processes with it.
yeah, because I that's why I like talking with different artists because I like how like when you're talking to different like interviewers and stuff or interview yeah. So I know a lot of times I just get fascinated with like a process of how they would proceed with a project or a lyric or with DJs. It's like how like I guess where how I prepare for a set is I don't really prepare for a set, but I'll make like a little playlist or a crate on my computer of songs that I'll know for different genres or different types of events at different times, what have you. So that's kind of, at least for DJs, how we prepare for a night. But ultimately, I like to go kind of fresh and with no mind whatsoever of what I'm gonna play, just because I want to kind of keep everything kind of like different. Like I don't want to go and have a specific play set or a specific type of music at a certain night to kind of just kind of I kind of want to feel the night. You know what I mean? So like I do have that kind of thought process of songs that I could rely to on a night where I would play the Biggie, Tupac, Drake, whatever. But I kind of would like to go like fresh minded and not think of what I'm going to play, but rely of like my presets of music that I would make on like these crates and just go with it. So, but sometimes too, I do get that lightning bolt of like, oh man, I haven't heard that song in like years. Let me try to play it and freak people out and see if they're into it. And then I'll play like do like whatever in sync and then be like, oh my god, I haven't heard bye in like years and
Banger.
I'm feeling it. It's a banger, you know what I mean? I do have to say, like, I do have a, because before I didn't have a really great fondness for like late 90s early 2000s pop music with all the boy bands, because because I thought it was just lame and it's like whatever. But then you listen to it, and I'm just like now, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I can appreciate this type of music. It's been a while since I've heard like I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys and be into it. So it's like again, it kind of brings back the nostalgia of like music, right? But again, going back to like playlists, yeah, I don't. I choose to kind of not like unless I'm doing a wedding, then obviously I'll have to kind of set everything up, like whatever,
That's
first
it,
dances and
right?
whatever.
Like,
But generally speaking, I don't want to
so
go
that's like
into an
a.
event and
So like I don't. I mean, for me, it's like there's gonna be two vibes to this, right? Like, let's say I'm making an album or a single. These are
yeah,
like kind of commercial products, right? Like I
yeah,
probably shouldn't be willy nilly with it. Whereas my
mm,
mixtapes, I'm having all the fucking fun in the world going all willy nilly with it. But it's really
yeah,
about like context, right?
yeah,
Or like for a live show, like I need to come prepared with a set,
okay,
right? Like I don't. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. But if I want you to go to my Spotify after, I kind
hmm,
of have to go perform my songs. And
yeah,
then I can't just be like, and no disrespect to people who do this, but you really probably should not show up and randomly hit shuffle and perform songs. You
yeah,
should think about the flow and the sequence of your tracks. So, like, I like to open with something that's higher energy. You want to grab attention and move. And then in the middle is when you squeeze I rap slow two parts. Well, at least for me, because I rap pretty quick. So I have a couple I rap slower two tracks for the middle part. And then I
what
like
is
close out on my one track I know is guaranteed to hit any crowd and work.
your like BPM, like beats per minute type of like set in terms of like do you like to go like do you know like but BPMs is like the count
No, I
of
know
beats
what it
per
is,
track.
bro.
But what
I've
is your
never thought
preference?
about it. It's more
Really?
about the vibe of it, right? Like I know
Okay.
Lose Weight is at 161.55 because
Okay.
people wanted to remix it and said, "What the
Yeah.
fuck, Holden? This is not a standard BPM." So I said, "Matt,
Yeah.
what fucking beat?" Anyway, and I like it, but like I don't know that I've ever thought about it like that. I know a lot of rappers, whatever, but like I just have these songs, right? And so the idea of the show for me is to promote my songs.
Yeah.
And these are the songs that I have. So it's like, how do I arrange these songs that I am, first of all, I've only got like 9 I can perform in a good day, and that's with practice. And even then, a lot of them are less ready to go than others. So, like, I know the one, and then you have to like think about it too. Like, yo, you don't really want to perform your 5-minute fucking track there, or the one that's the 3.5-minute verse with no chorus. Fuck that guy, he's out. And then you have to think about the energy too. Like, 9 times out of 10, you kind of need something that you're going to be able to move to. And so a lot of my catalog is headphone music. So it's like, yo, I don't really want to go perform that right now. So really it's like the vibes of the songs I have, and I want to create like a vibe that changes so that within like a 30-minute set, if I can get that, because whatever's, I can give you like how versatile I can be and take you on a little journey through different ideas and parts of my life or whatever through these tracks. Because the one thing I think is really cool about my catalog is I realized I can perform every fucking song I've ever written today. The issue is it has to be the right vibe. So yeah, there might be a vibe where performing a 5-minute fucking song makes sense, but trust, it's not most vibes right now.
Hmm.
So it's like within, I think everything that I do is under 4 minutes or less. So like if anything, I need to have a couple of shorter shits in there just so I could squeeze a few more songs in and fill the time slot out in a more versatile way. And I look at it
Hmm.
more like that than I do any kind of set BPM, because yo, at the end of the day, like what I've been doing with the off the domes is like I don't even hear the beat before. Now we made a song without going, no, I'm not going to use the beat. I mean, yeah, here and there, but the intention is like, oh, you give me 8 beats, I'll fucking use all 8 of them. What? I'm not gonna waste a fucking beat. I don't care what it sounded like beforehand. I'm a rapper.
Hmm.
It's my job to rap on these said beats, not make excuses. But that's my mentality. And then people be like, but the vibes in the end. I'm like, whatever. You find me a song, it's math and science, and I do some engineering in my head, and I go, this is what I can do to make this a song.
Hmm.
And I love that about it. I love the challenge of it. Yo, I would like, to me, it's like, if anything, I want the most out there shit I can find. Because, like, sample driven, regular boom bap is like, bro, there's 1,000 examples of how to do that, bless. You know what's kind of hard to do is some weird fusion shit. You go find me those, there's less examples of it. So it forces me to have to like think about how am I gonna do something with this that like actually is fun for me to do, that I would listen to and shit. And then it's like, okay. And then a lot of it too is the challenge of it. So like I don't really like easy beats. I actually try to tell people if it doesn't change every 4 bars in some way, I'm really not that interested in the beat.
Okay, so you try to make it as complex but still seem appeal in terms of
like we're talking like drop an element, add an element, like level of change. But like I need you give me that and my flow will be ridiculous. You don't give me that and it's like, okay, then like, you know, it's kind of a loop. However, I challenge myself, I fucking work with it. But when it's like an album, I feel like my favorite songs have that kind of dynamic element to it. And so that's my favorite part. That's my like album shits. Then there's like the part where it's like a skill and I'm like, say word, it is a competition. Let's go, guys. Let's play.
Yeah, you know, I first on the top of my head, I'm thinking of like Gifted Gab, Black Alicious, like rest in peace, Gifted Gab. Like Broken Arrow, that album was unique in a sense where it's just there's a lot of tracks that have rhythmic like changes in terms of beats. Like obviously the alphabet aerobics is probably the best example because the beat goes fast, it starts slow, goes faster. So the lyrics like Gifted Gab does, he raps slow and then goes faster, all using the alphabet. That is to me like lyricists and MCs that pull off something unique like that. I mad respect, and that's why I love Black Alicious and Gifted Gab. That album
that came from D Antwoord, believe it or not. They have their track I Think You Freaky, and that happens in the 3rd verse, and it tripped me the fuck out. So I'm like ready for that. At one point in time I could have spit that shit and I practiced it and I used to like be like, yo, why nobody changing tempos on me? And apparently nobody wants that, which I find wild. There is one video of me on Instagram where motherfucker changes the tempo and I ride the freestyle, and I was like, I'm so proud of myself that I pulled that off. And it was like he changed the tempo, he fucking he did a bunch of shit to try to trip me up, and I rode the whole thing off the dome, and it was one of my favorite flexes ever.
Well, that's what I love about, like, we were now going back to what I was saying is like with lyricists and MCs that could improv on the fly, and if something happens on their sets, so they could just kind of go with it like it was nothing. So, and I know a lot of MCs like personally that can do it, but I also know a lot of MCs that just rely on the, like you were talking about, the boom back, like rhythmic, like 95 BPM, 100 BPM, like solid beats, which is good. But it's just like I think with the creativity that, you know, people don't realize.
I'd probably say I want 120 to 125 if I'm gonna have to pick a target BPM, because that's
like house music territory.
But that maybe faster too, a little bit. I would play there. But actually, my last album is Peter West's fucking experimentation with EDM from 2014 and shit. But like, yo, I always like that energy because, like, I mean, listen to how fast I talk. Like, for me, it's like I gotta really slow the fuck down for 90 BPM. Like, I can do it. But I had to like learn how to do that. Whereas my comfort zone is that fast shit. You give me that upbeat fucking techno crap, I'm fucking rocking that to the end of the day.
Well, the thing is, I agree with you because when I scratch, when I do cuts, like, don't get me wrong, the comfortable BPM for DJs to scratch would be like 95, 100, 105, whatever. But I like scratching faster at 120 to 130 because you kind of just kind of, you know, of course you keep in rhythm, but you kind of scratch in a faster pace where it feels like it's a flow. You know what I mean? So I would assume, like, I guess with the way you're talking about it now is like for MCs to go rap that fast or lyrically, you know, sing or whatever that fast, it kind of keeps you kind of in a higher energy. per
Well, I
se.
just think it like fast rap on upbeat techno music sounds better to me. But that's also my liking of it. Like MGK
Yeah.
rapping fast over Steve Aoki sounds better than MGK rapping fast over trap music.
Yeah. Or you could go as far as going old school, where a lot of like break beats or like b-board tracks are with raps like over it, which is old school. But yeah, that's kind of like the same vibe to it, I would think.
No, to be fair, I also like I'm cool with the slower rap. Like a lot of it sometimes needs to be, but that's like, cause yo, I was
Yeah.
always like, hooks were always like where the slow shit would come in. So sometimes like you just want
Yeah.
like your verse to feel more hookish or whatever. So like,
Yeah.
yo, there's so much flexibility to it, right? Like, but like, what I believe happens is a lot of people listen to music that they love, right? And they, so like without this album review journey I went on, I'm like the guy that's like hooked on Hobson, Bone Thugs, Tech Nine, MGK, Sage Francis, like this, like this whole vibe of like various kinds of fast rap, all the spectrums of fast rap, right? Like,
Mhm.
and then I do this like album review series, and it blows my mind how much content exists. And I realize that a lot of fast rappers, they use more words but don't say as much. And I'm not gonna ever say I did. I always tried to pack my content into every bar, but like I
Mhm.
feel like if you can say it in even less words, sometimes it's more impactful than needing to use as many words. So like sometimes it's like there's a power in like simplifying or whatever. Anyway, I found my comfortable place where I'm at. I just kind of whatever pops out, pops out. But like I realized that like slow rap is dope, but like all these different raps are dope. But I feel like in a lot of ways as artists, we don't necessarily do the vast level of research we should do to better our craft. We do like a sandbox, this is what's cool version of the research. So it gets hard to like leave comfort zones. Dude, I'm not even gonna lie, like I got like kind of like weirded out on the Cypher by like how many people were like, bro, change that beat. And I'm like, say a word, why? So I have a hook where it's like, wow, these rappers saying they can't rap on all these beats. Like it's confusing to me. Like
Yeah.
it's like, why?
Well, that's kind of like I'm like I don't want to crap on like today's like MCs or rappers or so-called rappers, but again, it's like yeah, with a cipher, you're given a task, they give you a beat, you just do what you gotta do, say what you want to say over this beat. I don't know why a lot of MCs that I've seen are kind of like scared to be like for a DJ, for a scratch DJ, I accept all beats of all speeds only because like it challenges me to be a better scratch DJ. So I would think like the mentality for a lot of MCs that I've seen that are just too much into their comfort zone of like a beat that's like slow, fast, whatever. I just think that they're kind of like keeping themselves limited to what they can possibly be with a beat that they're presented on the fly. You know what I mean? So like I'm not hating on
Yeah, me neither. Cause
yeah,
y'all, I love y'all. If anybody who feels the shoe fits, I still love y'all. And I mean, like, listen, people have come to me with a lot of great reasons. First of all, not everybody is
yeah,
me, and a lot of
yeah,
people are motivated by shit. And sometimes people like who are like that I know personally, I would flat out say are better artists than I am. So
yeah,
like it's like, yo, how's this person who's a better artist than I am? But what am I gonna say? They're them, and they have their
yeah,
process, and it's what works for them. So like
yeah.
it's not like a hate thing, it's a confusion thing. I'm sincerely
Hmm.
confused by it. But like me, it's
Hmm.
like I get titillated by these beats that sound like almost nothing I've heard before. That
Yeah.
it's like, yo, what's that? And then I
Hmm.
realized I like these dance fusion beats. Really, I like
Yeah.
some upbeat, and I've liked EDM kind of fusion beats since like back in the day. Like I wanted to do an EDM project since like I started. It was just that hard to find somebody that would like work with me like that to give me like a project's worth of material.
Hmm.
So like shut up,
Well,
Peter West.
okay, but no, that you still got time. I think for the most part, I think EDM is slowly coming back per se, and not in a different kind of form. Maybe a little bit more trappish than anything, but again, there's still people. I still play EDM music every so often as I can, and there's still love for EDM music. So there's always the possibility of exploring that again.
Yo, that's what I was saying. I have a project coming. I think it's the next thing. I went to Meticulous's crib. We did an EDM track.
Okay.
I'm trying to get known as the guy to send your EDM beats to, so that like before it gets cool. But yo, if you look at the pulse of Montreal, yo, what do you see people listening to on the morning? Like, think about it. If you're ever in the metro in the morning, there's a lot of people who listen to EDM at 8 in the morning.
Well, you go to the gym, there's people that need to get hyped up, right? So that's, EDM house and, anything between the 120, 130 BPM. So, yeah, I just think for the most part, like music's music, but it just, there's always fads and there's always music that disappeared, come back. I think with EDM, I don't think it ever left. It just wasn't
I
as
don't even
popular as
think
it
it
was.
left here.
Yeah.
I think in our underground scene never died. Okay, some shit happened that I'm not going to talk on that made it get less popular in the underground sense in regards to the police basically said, nah, do it legal or get the fuck out. And that changed the vibe. It really did. But like with that, it went legitimate is more what happened to the scene. It went legit, which is not a bad thing. And I don't think it died because literally bass drive fucking Sundays is a thing at Belmont right now.
Oh, wasn't it on Wednesdays?
Yeah, it was.
Oh man, I used to go to those.
But I saw it was on a Sunday this year. I think because they can't go late now, right? So if you're gonna get the number of hours, you need
no, because with bars and restaurants, like the notion is like you serve alcohol till 1, but you have to close at 2, which is whatever. I have a feeling that that's gonna change, but that's another story for another time.
I just saw the event on Facebook and it was on a Sunday, so I'm guessing.
I used to go to Bass Drive a lot, cause geez, like on Wednesdays, I used to have a crush on Vilify, so
I know. Oh my gosh, I know. I talked to her at one point. Like I know, cause at one point I flexed. I used to be like, "Yo, my brother's in blah blah blah," and it was like, cause I also know this guy. What's his fucking name? Shit, Bass Mechanics. So like,
sorry, dude. I only know. I only know Vilify.
Yeah, Vilify was like. She was popping though. Like, and that's the thing is like a lot of these people actually really do have successful careers, but their promoters are like actual promoters. You would see like legit security at these events. Like it was done in a. You know what the thing that I loved about that part of the era was is their events always had descriptions of the artists.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to say like I don't think the scene ever died. I think it went legitimate, which meant like the really cool parties died, and then yo, then it's like I don't know how much I want to go to a bar in my 30s.
I'll go to concerts than anything because the concerts were
festivals are wild. Sorry,
festivals, concerts, like anything that like I could just kind of just watch the artist versus going to a bar and like I'll still go to a bar and have a beer and just chill with friends or whatever or a terrace and stuff like that. But we're not at that age. At least for me, like, I try to, when I DJ, I try to maybe steer less than bars because it's not what it used to be, or at least I'm not getting any younger. But with like venues and I concentrate more on getting gigs at venues and terraces and festivals and maybe even concerts if I can because it's more lively and more interactive than to just DJ at like a mass of people who are just drunk.
More like all ages, to be honest with you. That's what this park shit feels like to me. Like, yo, like you could be 18 and it's a dope vibe, but you could also be 54 and it was a dope vibe. I kind of like this daytime pub. I mean, the only thing is you can't say fuck. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But like that's basically it. That's the only trade-off. And if that's the only trade-off, like yo, I could get used to this whole like outside vibe. That's why like for me that's like the next big move is the parks. Just you don't really need a permit unless you get popular. And if you're popular, now you can rent a venue.
Yeah. It's just I don't know where we're gonna go moving forward. Like I don't know if we're gonna get back to where it was. Hopefully not. Maybe we can improve on certain aspects and just be better in terms of like exposing music in general. But it is kind of tough to kind of navigate where we're gonna be, but at the end of the day, music's music, and I'm still gonna go out there, and I still want to go check out shows and check out concerts of artists, local and popular and stuff. Because again, it's just I kind of miss that. I miss going to a
Yup.
concert, or because I used to go to concerts by myself, hip hop shows or whatever, and I always see people I know there, because it's always a cool thing. Because I'm just there for an interest in seeing an artist, and then I have a friend who I didn't know that was there, but would always be there because we have the same interest. So that's always the bondness of going to like local acts or popular concerts or whatever. Like I miss that. I really do, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I had this moment where I sat down when this guy was playing acoustic guitar in the park and we were just singing shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
my God, when was the last time I sat there and sang shit with people in the park over an acoustic guitar? Like, yo, it was a vibe. And I
Yeah.
think I don't know that the old way is going to be what it was, but I definitely think for DJs like you, there will be opportunities abound, whether they're paid or otherwise.
I think my optimism is because I'm well versed to kind of DJ wherever, but I really hope that at least for the DJing process for booking, it's going to be reliably solely on skill and entertainment that I could bring versus just hiring any schmuck DJ. Like, don't get me wrong, like for a beginner DJ to get where he needs to be, that's fine. But I just, it's hard. I hate dealing with promoters. I hate dealing with club owners or bar owner or whoever if they don't feel like they have the same vision. Like I understand you want to make money. That's always a given. I want to make money too. That's just this thing. But it's just kind of like it kind of just feels like a drag when there's so many good artists out there, so many good DJs, so many good MCs that are better than what's out there and presented solely by whatever like their popularity on whatever social media and stuff, which is fine. But I just wish that I think for me, what I'm feeling at is like what I can offer is I could be more than just a DJ. I can provide technical aspects. I could provide good musicality on whatever events going on. I could be whatever as lame as you want me to be as a DJ playing, the top 40 or whatever weddings, and you know what I mean? But I just think there are great artists out there that just, have now the potentials to still be themselves and maybe move forward, and hopefully the pandemic will kind of like diminish more and more. And I think an out because I just feel like there is going to be that rush of like music that's just going to be like coming out, and concerts are going to be galore, and there's going to be festivals going on, and then
Well, it's like definitely like
yeah, yeah,
starting again. I mean, I know people
yeah,
who I performed. How did I
yeah,
perform already? You know, like
yeah,
it was small scale as fuck, but like nah,
yeah,
it's happening.
yeah.
Whether or not I don't, I think
that that boom is just basically that's just we're trying to get there, right? So that boom you know of musical landscape just opening up more and more, where people can go to concerts and people can go to
didn't you
like
say
venues.
like September 1st, like the restrictions get to a point where people are definitely gonna start doing some shit.
Yeah, but also I'm hearing cases that are going up too, so I don't know what's gonna happen.
That's a
You know
very
what I mean?
valid point. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why it's like I hear the point of the uncertainty, which is where it's like I look at it like it might not be a fiscally viable time to create, but it will certainly be. This is
yeah,
where okay, so like I look at it like I have to do a lot of things for free for now. So I even at small losses. So like we're gonna cop this vocal amp, right? Why?
yeah,
So that we can do shit like show up at the park on a Friday. Like if I'm not doing something on a Friday, now I can literally go to a park and rap,
yeah,
right? And then whoever the fuck comes up to me after that, whatever people talk to me in that moment, those are like people that like could become real fans, whatever,
yeah,
or not. Doesn't matter. Then I go to the next park. Then we just keep running this over and over again. I mean, we could probably pull off till November, honestly, if we're being like real with the shit.
Do you drive?
I do not. That is one of my biggest
Okay.
hurdles personally.
Because I was just thinking, because I met a friend in New Orleans. His stage name is Unscripted. He's a freestyle MC. He'll drive around like New Orleans and perform on the streets with a speaker in his back truck, and then he would play beats and he would freestyle like galore, and that's how he would make money. That's why I was thinking maybe if you can drive or get somebody to
Well,
drive you
I thought
around.
about it more like if I hit the same spot over and over again, I could become more like. I mean, I love that idea. Don't get me wrong, but like I want to integrate into the community element of it. Like there are 166,000 people in the NDG Cote-Neige area. There's about 4 or 5 major parks in this area that are viable candidates to pull this off proper, and it's predominantly motherfucking English, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going, oh, say word. Why don't we just jack it from the alt rock kids? No offense to them, but like they dominated the area for a minute. All we have to do is not say fuck as much, and then we can just go do like full on sets. Like, why not? I mean, I would love to have DJs involved. We're broke, but like I would love to have DJs involved in general. But like, if not, fuck that shit. I'll run it off my fucking phone if I have to. Like, we just gonna do it bootleg, because all I need is a knob that lets me adjust the beat and a knob that lets me adjust the mic, and a motherfucker good to go on this shit, because we just want to be there, be present. And you know what I found out? The local community is just as starved for shit to do. So really, this is the prime opportunity for an artist, is to go into your own fucking community and just start doing the shit in your parks and whatnot. Like Ismail said earlier, he's been seeing people do shit in Angrion Park. This is the real flex, because then your community's down. You people will be like, yo, I seen you. Yo, I seen you. Then they talk about you. You know what happened when you were in front of Cosmos? People would like occasionally pull out their phone and do the Insta thing.
Yeah, I saw that you were doing that recently. How was that?
That was like, you know when they say like, okay, you ever gone like on a sexual drought and then smashed, and it was like, oh my fucking, you know what I'm saying? That's what the best way to put that was, because I've been rapping to the internet.
No comment on my.
But like, it was like, man,
but yeah, I
like,
feel you.
I performed at like Fifths last year for Under Pressure. I performed in the next man's basement last year. I performed in the next bar. So like, I mean, yeah, okay, I'd rap to like the crew in rooms before. I've been doing the internet thing, but bro, like this was outside, like outside broad day, and like people were walking by, and I'm like, yo, what up to the person on the bicycle? Shut up, you know, like, yo, and then they'd be like looking at you, and they either gave you the approving nod or the go fuck yourself. Both were amazing, but it was just like this energy of like real life shit. And then we did the sets. Like I did a set, and I'm like, say fucking word. And it was like, it was just awesome. It was just like, and it just was such a fucking random fluke, just because I'm in the right Facebook group, the Thrive NDG, and somebody posted Cosmos is looking for whatever. So I called dude, and then Willie Scandals gave him a gear list, and motherfucker just, it was 2 speakers, a mixer, and 2 mics, and then a computer. That's all we needed. I'm like, yo, that is like simple as shit. And so we can simplify it further, because we really don't need as much fancy. We just need more. Dude, bro, they have amps that are battery powered, that are like loud. The guy, because these stand-up comics in Girard Park last night are running this shit every Sunday at 8. They have a tips cup. I'm like, oh my god, we wait. Like I knew I should have been on this a lot sooner, but like I feel like I wasted fucking 3 months of the fucking summer on building brand power, not doing this. However, it comes when it comes, and your heart's in the right place and shit. And now we're ready for it. So like, it's to the point where like, literally while I was live, ignoring the nobody there in the beginning of the stream, Meyer Clarity hit me up because he's coming into town, which is a big deal for me at least, because he's like the homeboy. And I'm like, say word, how about on Sunday we rap? Because we were trying to think about getting this amp, because we just saw the amp thing last night and found out that dude rented it for $60 a month. So fuck that, we'll just cop one. And so it can't be that bad. And then now we're doing a park shindig on Girard Park on next Sunday. So it's like
Okay.
by next park shindig, I mean, like, I have to plan the details post the stream because we don't have any fucking plans beyond, yo, we're doing it. And he's like, we're doing it. And I'm like, this is the most grassroots organic shit that but where's the best venue? Your neighborhoods that you all love. Yo, as long as I talk to the city councilors, you are not too rowdy, you're not too big, and you're not too disruptive, and you clean up after. That's the shitty part. You basically are okay, and just don't be annoying.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I'm like, oh, that's it? And I'm like, so like, I feel like that's honestly the move, because there's probably not a lot of dollars for a minute, but this way we build up the reputations where, like, you know, like, imagine it from a different angle. Those guys have internet clout, but then you can get a bunch of footage of you rapping in parks to people turning the fuck up, and I think that would have like a higher value to future promoters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, but that man, first of all, that sounds like it sounds like a dope live set to do, like, for next week, like, especially too where it's like open field. And yeah, Girard Park, you'll have people coming in because you got pretty much
Hold
the
on,
closed
let's
area.
add the asterisk of weather permitting.
Okay, well, I think it'll be fun. But whatever. Worst case, you can move it to like next Sunday, so you still got time.
Well, I mean, like, worst case, we're gonna just do it the following Sunday. But Meyer,
that's it.
He won't be there, but we'll still do it.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's what it is.
I mean,
but that's it for me. I want this to become like a weekly series that we run, and maybe we do it. But then, fine, we start like this next year. But that means we own the gear, and then March comes around, April, it gets nice out again. We just run it the whole summer.
Yeah, I think you can maybe find a place that can do it. You can. It's always just something where you just need to talk to people. You know what I mean? And then maybe you can run it. I want
that organic foot traffic. I don't, because why this works is because it kind of creates a buzz without you having to be a good promoter.
Yeah.
I'm not a good promoter. I can't sell fucking tickets for shit. I kind of need my reputation points to go up a lot more.
Yeah. No, and fuck, promoting is cool, but it's like, could I do flyers and stuff? Like, you've seen my flyers and stuff wherever I'm DJing or if I'm trying to get gigs and stuff. But yeah, like, every artist has to be kind of their own promoter, but doesn't mean that I'm good at it. But I get by with what I have, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, the main thing is you want to build the word of mouth.
Yeah, so I like that organic foot traffic. So we figured Trenholm Park's an option because it's where that ping pong table shit's set up right now, at least until they tear it down.
That's true.
And then Bonnie was suggesting Confederation Park's an option, which is also a good option. Man, let's be real. Mackenzie Park up in Côte d'Ivoire is a decent option.
That used to be my spot because, again, Filipino community, we always do stuff at Mackenzie Park. So that's running
in
deep.
Theory, if this pops off right and we get it on lock with a whip, we can line up like 3-4 sets a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's where, like, my brain's at with how to, like, turn this. Because, I mean, I look at it like if I go throw a show in a bar today and now I could not sell tickets with a gun to my head. And I'm just being transparent. I don't think I could. I could sell a few, but not enough to make this a commercially viable option for the bar, for everybody. And you don't want to, like, go to an event, meet a guy, rent the room, not sell it out, and have him giving you the what the fuck look all night. Because I've seen people give other people the what the fuck look all night.
No, I've been there. I actually would remember trying to just pitching. At the time, this is me being a young DJ. I would lie to promoters, but I have like a crew of people that I can bring. You know what I mean? And then I would play, and then all of a sudden, like, yo, where's your 15, 20 people that's supposed to come? It's like, I passed the word. And then it would come back again. So you know what I mean. So I've been there where it's tough when you just want to you want to DJ places, but you got I've done it too back in the day where I actually had to pay at a place to actually spin an hour or 2 hours. But again, this is just me being clueless on how the DJ scene or how the music scene worked in with promoters. But at the end of the day, you're trying to get you try to get your foot into the right direction, get people to
Well, I want NDG to give a fuck about me. That's really what happened. Is I went from caring if like my artist peers cared, or no offense if you care or not, because we're all like industry peeps. Like I want to fuck with you on like a personal level more than I fucking care about the art level. To be honest, the art level is almost secondary to if we vibrate, and that's because like there's a dime a dozen options for everybody to find the people they want to work with. But then I thought about like everybody's so focused on the internet that we're not even trying to like take the lessons we learned online and bring them back to real life. So like if the idea of a Facebook group is to go put a post in a bunch of public places to catch eyes on it, then wouldn't setting up shop in a park just be the IRL version of spamming Facebook?
Yeah.
Only it's untapped, it's not annoying, and people are starved for local shit. All I can tell you is all of the people who performed on that Cosmo show had various styles. We did freestyles over different beats, and everybody walked by 80% success rate of approval. And I was saying, say fucking word, right? Like, that's not what you might be thinking when you go rap in the middle of the street. But, like, the parents love the fact that we chose not to swear. And I think the people just fucked with the live energy vibe. So I'm like, if we do this enough times, then we put up tip cups and shit like that. It kind of finances the enterprise into better gear. And then we focus on double down on the live streaming element along the same times to make sure Golden Jenny and them can fucking still watch it. And then it's like all of a sudden we create this vibe that keeps it like documented while simultaneous. Because then you're broadcasting, we here, come join the vibe. Shout out Ismail for bringing a friend and them loving the vibe of the whole Cosmos thing. And it's like, so to me, it's like, but doing that over and over again means people who walk by more than one time, they're going to get it stuck in their head, like YouTube ads and shit. And then it's like, you just kind of, so it's like, it costs nothing once I buy the app. Because I already have like I have this, right? So I'm cool. I'm good. I got that one. And it's like, then it's just like we show up. And then we just do it, whether or not there's a crowd. Who cares if there's a crowd the first time? We just in the park having a good time, doing our sets, practicing for when we get. But then, like, we're documenting this so that other people who might want to book us can see what we bring to the table in a live environment, broad day in a park or late day in a park. Because I feel like if you're doing it in a park, it's a little harder.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. But... I'll definitely have to come when you I'll try to come by next Sunday or whenever you do it, just because it's been a while since I actually wanted to just go check out and hang on the park.
Let's say unless it rains us the fuck out, Sunday's happening, because I put my sometimes somebody goes, I can bring a crowd, and you go, let's do it. So I want Sunday to happen. I'll even think, obviously I can't fight rain, but it looks like it'll be alright. I'm gonna go with let's best fucking vibes in the world. But yeah, basically Sunday at 6 p.m. I don't even care. We'll make the Facebook event soon enough and shit. Even that's how legit we are at this. And then it's a matter of collecting names to put on flyers and shit. Literally, I got 2 days to get this live as soon as this is kind of done, which is dope. And then one way or another, it happens because it's viable. And listen, $60 a month at a rental place is our last option, and that's easy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, to me, I'm not excited. It's just a thing, and we're gonna run it, and then whatever. I'll be at the park at 5, ready to set up and test and shit, and then we'll run that motherfucker, and it'll be a vibe. And whether or not we get shut down, they let us run it, who fucking cares? It'll be a vibe. I'm gonna hit up the Next Mans from the Hustle podcast and see if they want to get involved, and we have 7 days to make some magic go down, and then run weeklies after that are way more low scale. Ismail, if you can come, it will be amazing on Sunday, and if you can't, totally understood. We'll do our best to stream it.
No, but definitely, I definitely want to come by, check it out. The worst case, check out the stream if you guys are able to.
Bro, we want you there. Sure. We want you there. Come and do your little DJ thing.
I want to bring my portable. My portable's packed up, but it's just basically me just cutting on records on this little kind of toy.
So
and that's what I used to do, and I still kind of do it. I want to get back to doing.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I just go out with. I used to go out with a camera and just film me scratching in different various places. That's what I did when I was in California. I used to just and I would post them on whatever Facebook, YouTube, and stuff. And uh, yeah, because it's just fun, just kind of freaking people out. It's like, what the hell are you doing? It's
Bro,
like,
I would
oh,
love
I'm just
it if
kind
you
of
could. Yo, you're saying you can come scratch? It would make it like Lydier. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Yeah. I'll definitely reach out to you, and then I'll bring my portable turntable. I have other DJs too that have portable stuff. Because we usually go to a park and we just cut it up. Like my boy Manzo, if he's watching, like what's up to him? Like, because I'm part of a scratch crew called the Sunday Scratch Session, where me, Manzo, and a few other DJs would just meet up at a spot, and we would just do like a meetup and scratching kind of gathering. It used to be every Sunday at a local bar or something, and we would just meet up and scratch. But because of the pandemic, we were just doing it online. But yeah, but lately because the weather's been nice, we used to just go. We usually just find a park or a spot where we just bring up portables and a portable speaker, and we would just like cut QA and drink beer. You
Bro,
know.
that sounds like fresh. Anyway, like
Yeah.
that, like,
We'll definitely talk for sure. Like
nah,
that's
man.
something that I want to.
I mean, like to me, it's just like, yeah, if you want to be there, you'll be there, and it would be an
Yeah.
amazing time to have you because, like, from the day you said you wanted to scratch, I was like, yo, that actually sounds like Lydier. Because, yo, for me, it's like, I want to create the best show possible, right?
Hmm.
And if you have a DJ bringing that element to it, it makes a better show for anybody out there because, yo, a 7-year-old gonna fuck with that. Right? You can say
Hmm.
what you want about a 7-year-old might stop and be like, "Yo, mom, that guy's scratching." Like, that's the kind of vibes we want.
Yeah. No. I've always loved doing that. Just kind of just going to a public place and just kind of just. I've done it where I was DJing in the middle of like Place des Arts back in the day, filming, and people would just like looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And oh, I just have a record and I'm scratching over a beat. No biggie. You know what I mean? So it's like, but it's fun. I just love people's interaction if they don't know what it is. Like, especially when I see MCs, freestyling in the streets, like, it's cool to kind of see people kind of like look and react to it, regardless if you were good or not. It's just, yeah, I kind of miss that kind of, and that's another thing I kind of miss, that whole kind of social interaction of curiosity. You know what I mean?
Love it.
So yeah, it's dope. I think that's one of the things you now thinking about the way you're describing it. It is kind of dope to kind of open that aspect to the public of what you probably would see on the internet and stuff. So yeah,
Honestly,
man.
I'm just inspired by a bunch of rappers from New York City telling me about how they grew up with hip hop and how they describe the situation. Now, I don't necessarily want to recreate hip hop from New York City, but I
No.
want a bunch of Montreal artists to learn the lesson that being in front of your community and showing them what you are. Like, how many people in NDG just don't have any idea, as an example, that so many rappers live here?
Hmm.
And then if
Oh
we're
man.
there, we start to expose it. And then obviously other people are going to want to start rolling through. And then it turns into a 6-hour thing by accident, which we'll figure out when we get
Yeah.
there. But then it's like all of a sudden, like you become like a showcase in the park. And it's like, again, it exposes you to a lot more markets than nighttime.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh man, I miss New York.
I've never
Anyways,
been.
oh man, you gotta go, man. Like even
I'm
if it's
planning
a,
on it. No, like for real.
yeah,
I have to work out a couple of things before I'll say it's like a final. But
yeah.
if things go the way I would like them to, I will be there the week of my birthday in November.
Okay. Oh man, there's just so many spots you can go. Like Brooklyn is always a biggie. Like I always love going to the East Village, in Manhattan area. Like a lot of hip hop stuff you'll find basically is in Brooklyn, Harlem. Oh man, I go to New York a lot because I just love New York, but also there's a lot of record shops, so I'll buy a lot of vinyls there, and they're dirt cheap to like buy used
Mm.
vinyls, but they're classics. Can you just, and I know a lot of beat makers from here or across Canada or wherever would go to New York just to cop and find like rarities or like use the records for free, like for cheap. Like you can buy them like $2-3 in a bin. You know what I mean? So yeah, New York in terms of hip hop feel, like it you gotta go.
I definitely have to. I've been doing this like a parallel show with the man's that's in Bronx right now for like
Mhm.
all of 2021, and so like
Mhm.
it's like I kind of want to meet the dude, like and like he's been like, if you come down here, you'll get the special VIP tour, and I'm like, oh, I want to go. I want to go see
I
your
know
version in New York.
there's a lot of cool. I don't know the state of New York how it is right now in terms of pandemic, but I know there's a lot of underground places to go that I wish I've had the chance to go to. That's why I want to go back desperately. But there is places where you can there is like hip hop shows and a lot of from what I know, there's just a lot of places where there's a lot of like ciphers and freestyles, and for sure you'll run into one mainly like in maybe the Bronx, Brooklyn, Harlem, where and basically outside of
You know what I
Manhattan
really want to
area.
end up doing if I can is to go and see some battle rap.
Oh man, like do you have you ever gone to Toronto and check out like King of the Dot type battles? No.
Nah, I basically discovered battle rap this year because interviews forced me into discovering and falling in love a bit with battle rap.
Okay.
So, but like I know my homeboy's connected to the battle rap scene, and I'm like, I kind of want to go to one of these things. Like like if I can get to one of these things, I kind of want to go to
I,
one.
I've been I've been to a few like they're like end of the week here in Montreal. They have their battle like their MC battles and
Shit, I
like their
want to see
beatbox.
end of. I don't know if I can go there. If I can like work it out that I can go see end of the week. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they're like you. So like a lot of MCs when they battle. It's like basically like 8 Mile Eminem, but more vicious. I find because they'll try to tear you down morally just to kind of get a win or get a rise out of you, right? So it's vicious, man. So if you like, but they're cool with a lot of MCs that will just come up with something creative on the fly. But it's like it is a vicious kind of
I just want to like
battle.
stand in the background of one of these events and just be there in the room.
I've been to a few, especially the King of the Dot in Toronto. Like there's just there it's vicious, like you know what I mean? So
Nah, I hear that. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, but like, I wouldn't go unless I'm with my homeboy or somebody that was
Yeah.
there to like, cause I'm not going anywhere unsupervised. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to go unsupervised to New York City. I want supervision. It's not my country. I don't know the customs and
well,
social norms.
I've been to New York by myself 3 times, and it's always a blast whenever I'm there. But I have family in Jersey, so it makes it easy, type of thing.
I,
But I like to when I travel, like especially when I go to California or whatever. I like to travel alone, just because it kind of gets me out of my comfort zone to kind of interact with people. So, but New York, it's like
I,
I can go with friends. I can be by myself. It's just always a blast every time I'm there.
I know for this particular trip, the goal for me is to like meet people, cause like I've
Yeah.
been working like technically my show with the other one I was describing, like it's on the end of the week shit. Like I'm
Yeah.
affiliated with End of the Week New York. I am not
Oh, okay.
affiliated so directly with End of the Week Quebec. I'm like we don't
Wow.
know each other like that so much, just
Yeah.
on the facts that COVID has prevented me from going to any events and actually meeting the folks. Plus, they had a TV show to contend with. Shout out End of the Week Quebec. That was a big distraction for them over the course. So like
I haven't actually watched the show. Like,
it's
is it
lit.
any good? Like, oh,
Like I mean, you know what it was, man. I watched Basics on TV doing his thing, and it was like this like emotional sense of like, yo, I know Monkey. Like I rapped with Monkey
yeah.
in a park. I
Yep.
rapped with Basics in the park. And now these guys are
Yep.
on TV, even if it's Quebec TV. And it
Yeah.
was like,
Monkey and Basics are usually at the Cypher with Under Pressure every time, so they're
and
dope.
like, honestly, man, for me, seeing that on television, seeing people that like, yo, I'd never really seen that before. And I don't know. it was like that. I guess a lot of people have described that moment, but like I had never ever in my life really seen my peers on TV like that, like in a legitimate and serious way, where like Quebec is saying hip hop is legit like that, and it was super emotional. I'm pretty sure I actually cried a little bit when I saw Basics do his shit. I mean, his little "thank you, mama" at the end, and slipped in his little English word that it was really like memorable for me. I remember we were on like Lemef's stream, like pirating that shit to everybody, but like it was cool. But like they were really distracted, so I like linked up with End of the Week New York on that New York guy shit because I interviewed him, and then we linked up like outside of End of the Week, but he was affiliated with End of the Week. So next thing you know, all of a sudden I'm like part of the End of the Week New York like squad's like channel and shit. Like technically speaking, if you go on their YouTube channel, you'll see me like all over it. Not like all of it, but like we do like a weekly, you know, and it have the End of the Week logo in all of those thumbnails. And
well, hopefully when everything comes up, like hopefully End of the Week Quebec will probably continue on. I know they did every month or so.
No, they are still lit. They're still a squad. They still do things. I just don't like know them, right? Like so like I met them one time at a barbecue last September or some shit, and it was like, yo, I feel weird because of COVID and shit. That's where I met Cool Man Logan too for the first time. And then it's
Cool Man Logan,
So I met
a lot of those guys like Senecal, who's like, you know,
I've not met him yet.
He's dope. He's funny. He's always at the Cypher. He's one of my favorites. I like Basics, Monkey I've seen at the Cypher. Of course, Cool Man Logan. There's just I know there's a lot of artists that pass through the Cypher that have been through competed in at the End of the Week, but also too there's also beatbox competitions that they hold too, which are pretty dope. So I'm just hoping maybe one day they're gonna do a DJ battle, but you know it's kind of tough because there's a lot of like equipment issues that they would have to deal with, but.
Those are logistics. Everything can always be figured out with the right plan of action. But for me, it's like I want to go meet like these people, you know, like these people I've talked to on the internet for a while, and like I know them in like a internet way. And the thing is like I guess this far into COVID, it was like this realization that none of these internet relationships are really meaningful because they're kind of like it's like I'm having a phone call. It's like having a phone call with somebody all the time. It's nice and it means something, but like
no, I feel the same way because
I don't really know that you like me. You just like this version of me that you've encountered. You've never really been in a room with me, but my energy's off type thing.
No, I feel the same way because I've met a lot of DJs through Twitch. Like it's great to connect and great to network with them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like they only know what they see of me on Twitch, but they don't really know me. You know what I mean? So it's like it is kind of because I'm more of a approachable person, and I like for you to meet me in person to just kind of you see who I am type of thing. But I like again, it's cool to interact with people through Zoom and Google Chat and whatever. But it's just kind of different when you like meet somebody for the first time via internet in person. Even now, like sometimes I'm just trying to get back into the habit of being sociable again with people, with being out in public and stuff. But it's.
It's wild. I don't know how to behave in public yet.
Yeah, I just don't know if I should. A lot of times I'll just like fist pump them, or I'll just do an elbow to elbow kind of thing.
I don't know. I've been fist bumping probably more than I should. I'm just like,
whatever.
I'm not sure. I'm double vaxxed and I know it's not how it works, but I'm fucking now I'm in public and I'm just so excited and I'm like seeing people and I'm like, it's too much to think about.
It's kind of awkward the first few times that I'm kind of like, it's like doing like, hugging people or just calling them in, because it's like, do I do that or it's like, but it is something to kind of get used to in the sense where it's like trying to get back to the social life. But it's you know what, when hopefully everything follows through, like, yeah, you'll get a chance to meet all these MCs. Like, I definitely, hopefully, with, end of the week maybe coming back in the future, hopefully stuff with urban science is gonna come back, and you get to check out like all these MCs that are usually passing by through like, the scene is dope when you're going and interacting with like people with those type of events. And that's why I like either DJing those events or being part of those events. Like Under Pressure too. It's like when I was there doing my set afterwards, it was kind of cool to just meet up with people I haven't seen in like over a year, who I would maybe see on a regular basis, like at a concert or whatever. But because it's like, it's kind of cool and relief at the same time, and kind of awkward at the same time, in a sense where it's like how do I approach them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how's life post COVID? You know what I mean? But it's like,
Man, every talk is
it's
fucking weird. It's like,
yeah.
I don't even, okay, because like on top of all that, like let's say like I got used to having this set of filters in place where I just understood what the appropriate conversational topics were. I've
Mm-hmm.
spent the last like year of my life, we can say 9 months, talking to strangers in this one-on-one call, and most of my conversations are like this. This is not like regular life shit, right? And then my other interactions with humans are work business centric Zoom calls where
Yeah.
there's plans and intents, and either I'm a boss or I'm a subordinate, and it's very clearly defined how to like behave like that, but not social versions, just the work versions, right? Because it's been
Mm-hmm.
Zoom meetings, and
Yeah.
that's like it in chatting. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, fuck me, how much and I talk too much when I get nervous, right? So I just have a fucking blabbermouth, being like a fucking conversational dominant asshole in these. I'm like, it's gonna take a minute to like get comfortable in these like public settings again.
Yeah. But once you get the hang of it, like for me, like you when you start interacting more and more, like the less awkwardness kind of fades away a bit. But again, it depends on your character too. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I am kind of somewhat a bit kind of reserved, but I am sociable. Like, it all varies on like who I meet and how I talk to people or how they talk to me, type of thing. But I know in the beginning, it like for me when I was starting to get back out there, it was a bit kind of strange. Because even then, I do talk to friends and family through Zoom or online chat, but it's not the same if when you meet them in for the first time, like face to face, because it's like it's human interaction.
mad
You
different.
know, it is different. Like it might be the same in terms of like talking to you,
Oh,
like through.
here's
But
like a
then when I
huge like just
yeah
imagine this. We're the same height right now, all things considered. You
yeah
find out like how tall people and short people are, and like you start really seeing people in their fullness in all of
yeah.
the ways that is, and it's like just different energies. But yo, I don't want
Well,
to forget. I don't want to
how
forget.
how tall
I'm five
how tall
seven.
are you? You 5'7"? Okay, so you okay? So I'm taller than you by 4 inches.
Yeah, so like right there, like it's like just that dynamic, right? Like,
Yeah.
yo, in a lot of ways, yo, I know I'm shorter than people, and that plays into the interactions because weirdly society has a height dynamics and shit. So just little things like that, like gotta pop off your chest more, be like conscious of not doing that, or like body language matters a lot more in public.
Well, I have a fat belly, so every now it's like when I go out, I have to kind of suck it in a bit. So,
Yeah, I feel that.
but
But yo,
yeah,
I don't want to forget this question. Ismail
yeah. Go
wanted
ahead.
to know if you were in touch with the Filipino hip hop scene.
Uh, the Filipino, there isn't much of a. There are Filipino artists here. I think far rare hip hop artists that are doing it full time or like full grind as a hobby. Like there are like I know the Filipino community did like a little festival at the Village de Courant. I think last week I couldn't go because I was just hanging around with people at Under Pressure. But uh, I don't. In terms of the hip hop scene in the Filipino hip hop scene in Montreal, there are. I just don't know them to know if they're kind of just doing it for the fun or if it's legit or like or in between. But I know there's a lot of Filipino artists, like singers, bands that are just doing their thing and maybe hoping for the best type of thing. So that's kind of where I know in terms of the Filipino music scene in Montreal.
Fair enough. Do you listen to
Yeah.
Filipino hip hop outside of Montreal?
No, besides the Black Eyed Peas,
Fair enough.
but whatever. There is the music. I know the hip hop scene in the Philippines is pretty. Yeah. Bamboo. Yeah, okay. So those are two. But I don't know them, Ruby and Bamboo, too well. But
I hear what you're
but I,
saying.
again, all I know is like Black Eyed Peas
Yeah,
are
but
like
like
big
to be
and
like fair to you, you're also
yeah,
like completely ingratiated into like a Montreal DJ culture, where like
yeah.
the expectations of what you need to know are different. Yo, that's
I'll,
actually
I'll s- I'll say this: there are plenty of Filipino DJs here in Montreal, club DJs, scratch DJs. That's where we kind of shine in terms of I know a lot of those DJs that are doing their thing, like old time hip hop DJs that are Filipinos to like us scratch DJs, underground, and far in between. So, and there's a whole bunch of DJs that are Filipinos, but not just here in Montreal, across Canada and
right.
throughout the states. There are just an abundance of really awesome, like Filipino DJs in their own right. So you know what I mean? I think what I grew up learning DJ, it was Qbert, Mixmaster Mike, and
Right.
those are two Cali DJs. Well, Mixmaster Mike's part Filipino, but Qbert is Filipino, but born in San Francisco. And those were the two Filipinos that I grew up idolizing because I just loved what they were doing with scratching and all that stuff. So
Yo, DJ Overflow, I would love to keep this running, but I have work tomorrow. So unfortunately, this is the part where I'm gonna have to say I love this conversation. I think it's
I'm
really
surprised we actually gone to like this. What were we, 450? Okay,
I'm
cool.
not. DJs are not the same as rappers. Rappers are
Yeah.
like very image centric, right?
Mm.
And DJs tend to be really like music scene centric. So y'all are just more interesting to pick the brains of because y'all have a lot of opinions. Because
Mm.
frankly, you want to come off like a snob more than like a rapper does, in a positive way. Your
Mm.
knowledge is what gets you kind of booked. The more
Mm.
you know, the better you are, and
Yeah.
it's a weirdly different thing. So I've enjoyed every DJ conversation I've had, and producers too. I enjoy. Like it's.
Mm.
I'm not gonna say I don't like rappers because I like rapper ones too, but maybe it's because I'm a rapper and it's what I do, but like I feel like talking to a DJ is a bigger blessing to me. And
Mm.
because of the frequency of guests, I don't talk to DJs all the time. So you're like kind of like breaking up the norm, like that song that
Mhm.
comes through on your set to flip shit up.
I could talk about DJing for like another 5 hours, but because again, that's the passion of my music is the passion of mine. But if you ever like Ishmael said, I'm down for a part two, whatever you
I'm
want. So
down for a
just let me
part
know.
two as well. Give it a few
Yeah.
months just to space it
Yeah.
out, but we'll make that
No, no,
happen.
no, no. Don't worry. I'll be around.
But yo, on that note though, thank y'all for watching for real, everybody. Thank you for the people
Thank
watching in the future too.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yo, it
Honestly,
was
it's
wonderful.
been it's pretty fun. It was fun.
And yeah, so definitely make sure to check out his links, which have popped through a few times in the chat, and it'll be down below in the description of the video, so you don't have to worry about all the exaggerated plugging. It's just there. Go check in the description, y'all. But yo, thanks again, everybody. It was wonderful to have you, DJ Overflow. Yo, live long and prosper, everyone.